Then another time when he was talking about the verse from Venu Gita Bharapida, the verse about Krishna wearing the yellow karnika flower in his ear and the peacock feather on his head. And as he was describing Krishna's beautiful form, he again began to burst into tears and broadcast these transcendental emotions of the moods of the inhabitants of Braj as they were viewing the beautiful, gorgeous, transcendental form of Sri Krishna. And by this ecstasy that he was broadcasting, we could feel something special. And we should know, for sure, we should know that Srila Gurudev is a very intimate associate of Srimati Radhika. When we were in Gopinath Bhavan one year, I think it was 2009. So there is, behind the temple is the Seva Kunj. Seva Kunj is a very special place. It is a place where Rasa Leela takes place every night. Very special, transcendental place. And every night, before the priests leave Seva Kunj, the priest puts a large plate of prasadam over by the stali, the Rasa stali. There's a round platform where Radha and Krishna dance, and in the middle of that platform is the love seat for Radha and Krishna to sit. And by that stali, they place a large plate of prasadam, and in the morning that prasadam is gone. Now at night, no one is in that Seva Kunj. Nobody, absolutely nobody comes in the Seva Kunj at night. In fact, even the monkeys do not go into Seva Kunj at night because it is so dangerous to be in Seva Kunj. Any man who has been caught staying in Seva Kunj overnight, he becomes mad or he dies. So no one stays in Seva Kunj, nobody, for any reason, overnight. But yet, in the morning, after the gate is locked up and the prasadam is placed and then the gate is locked up so that no one can enter or leave, in the morning, that prasadam is gone. So during the Kartik Mas, while we were having the programs at Gopinath Bhavan with Srila Gurudev, as usual, the priest brought the plate of prasadam to the Rasa Stali. Then he left the Seva Kunj, he locked the gates. And as he locked the gates, then he went home, he took his bath, he had his prasadam, and he went to sleep. And while he was sleeping, he had a dream. And Srimati Radhika came to him in the dream and said, tomorrow, you have left out the plate of prasadam to eat. And tomorrow, when you come there, I will leave that prasadam. We will only take 1 or 2 pieces and we will leave the rest of the prasadam. And I want you to take that prasadam and bring it to my very dear Saki in this world, who is known by the name of Narayan Maharaj. You should bring this plate of prasadam to him. And so the pujari brought the plate of prasadam to Srila Gurudev in the morning and told us the story. And then Srila Madhav Maharaj told everyone this story. And Srila Gurudev took 1 piece of the prasadam and he ate and put it back on the plate, and then he said to distribute it. And Vaikanas Maharaj and myself had the good fortune of distributing that prasadam to all the devotees. So we were so lucky, so fortunate. And in this way, we saw how Srila Gurudev was honored by Srimati Radhika during Kartik as the very dear Saki of Srimati Radhika. And this Pujari would not take anything, not even one paisa from Gurudev. Gurudev offered to give him some bhiksha. No. He said, all these years I have been serving Srimati Radhika, and she has not given me any service to do. Today she has given me some service to serve one of her sakis. How I will take money for this? I cannot take any money, then it's not seva anymore. So you please just take this prasad, and you get as Srimati has ordered me to give you, and you get benefit. So like this, we are so fortunate. We got the chance to associate directly with the intimate maidservant of Srimati Radhika. How blessed we are. How blessed we are. And the Srila Gurudevas Maharaj and the Srila Gurudev both told us that the Srila Prabhupada is the intimate Saki of Srimati Radhika. So I don't know what I have done. I consider myself a very low-class person. But somehow I have done something that I got chance to associate with the Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudevas Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, all the intimate Sakis of Srimati Radhika. And by this association, this unfortunate person has developed some inclination toward this process, although I am millions of births away from getting the mercy of seeing the divine couple, so, and getting opportunity to do some service for them. But Srila Gurudev's point that you can only get the moods of the inhabitants of Braj from someone who is an inhabitant of Braj. You can only get these moods by hearing from someone who's such a person. And in this way, we got opportunity with Srila Gurudev to hear directly from someone who is declared an intimate maidservant of Srimati Radhika. We got this direct evidence from the Pujari of Sevakunj that he was informed directly who is Srila Gurudev. And so we got the opportunity to hear his sweet Hari Katha, and these moods that he described in his Hari Katha entered our hearts if our hearts were open to receive them. And so I feel very blessed on these holy days to remember Srila Gurudev and my association with him and the mercy that he gave me by giving me an opportunity to get a little close to him and to serve him in some small capacity. And the orders he gave me to preach the fundamental principles of bhakti, sambandha gyan, to all of his disciples, and to help and nourish their bhakti whenever they have had any difficulty in their sojourn and their journey in Krishna consciousness. So I feel very, very honored by the opportunities that I have gotten from Srila Gurudev. And everyone who has had his association has been blessed because they got the chance to associate directly with an intimate associate of Srimati Radhika. And we should be so happy that we got this fortune in this lifetime. So I want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about the glories of Srila Gurudev and his transcendental position. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatru Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnaveyo.
Pranam Maharaj, thank you so much for taking us on this journey on how Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada are one in heart, and you brought us back, not back because I wasn't there, but brought us to when Srila Gurudev was singing Shri Rupa Manjari Pada and you were there. Thank you so much for sharing these treasures with us, and especially this 2009 pastime in Seva Kunj. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Uncle Bhagavat Maharaj, for drowning us in the nectar of Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada. I'll now hand over. I've managed to make us all go over time, so I'm not sure if I'll ever be asked to be a host again. I'll hand over to Manini Didi and wish her luck trying to fix that. Hare Krishna. You need to unmute. I'll ask you to
I'm
unmute.
unmuted now. I also, I want to make sure that the Zoom is presenting properly. And I'm looking for Srimati Yasasvini Didi. Is she here? Oh, there you are. Haribol Dandavat. So I'm going to ask you to unmute. And while she is doing that, I'm very honored to make your association, Srimati Yasasvini Didi. This is a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who also took shelter of Srila Gurudev, took shiksha from him. What I understand about you, Didi, is that you've always helped disciples grow in bhakti and build confidence in bhakti. And I think that's really wonderful. Really looking forward to your Hari Katha. And you have 25 minutes, and I can cue you if you like. Okay, you have a Dandavats. So the yes, the sun is yours. Haribol.
Haribol, Dandavat Pranams, Didi, thank you. First of all, I'd like to offer my most humble obeisances at the feet of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj, at the feet of all the sannyasis, Arupanupa Guruvag, all the devotees, and yourself, the management team, for looking after this wonderful program. Yashodanandam for coming back on. So, first of all, I was remembering the prayer Amagina Timirandasha Ganangana Salakaya Chakshuam Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. And I saw in one of the old harmonists a very amazing article. It was actually a Vyasa Puja offering by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to his Gurudev, Srila Gorkashodas Babaji Maharaj. And he was explaining, it was very beautiful the way he wrote it, actually. He was saying how, in fact, I have the article here, and it is just so amazing. I want to just read a teeny tiny bit of it. He said, today is the day of the worship of Sri Guru. I have come here today for the purpose of worshipping the lotus feet of Sri Guru. I am a person blinded by ignorance. I am actually the servant of Krishna. I have no other function than this. But this mode is being obstructed by the darkness of ignorance, and I have become blind for the present. So he said, we're in darkness. The only real knowledge is that we are the servant of the darling of Nanda Maharaj. And he said, I am averse to the service of this darling of Nanda, and therefore I am completely blind, and darkness is enveloping my eyes and I cannot see. So he said how, because of this, I'm trying to enjoy this world with all of my senses, with my hands, my feet, my eyes, my tongue, everything. And I am therefore engaged in a variety of work by reason of doing which there have been appearing in this multitude of diverse kinds of dangers that are confronting me. And by attempting to walk with these feet, I often stumble and fall. I am actually invoking manifold evil by not being able to understand the real subject of knowledge. Then he said, in such an hour of peril, the lotus feet of my Sri Guru, being moved by pity, have manifested themselves in this world in order to impart to me the knowledge that you are the servant of the darling of Nanda, and to dispel the darkness of ignorance due to my loss of duty, which has led me to embark on the enjoyment of worldly objects and to think that enjoyment is my duty. With this eye, I see that which is not my duty to see, namely the bondage that is actually instructing me from my vision of him and of who I am. And so he was saying how the lotus feet of Sri Guru have imparted to me the light of spiritual knowledge by removing that bondage from my eyes and moving aside the bondage of my wrapped eyes and making the lids of my eyes open slightly. The lotus feet of Guru are instructing me, saying, open your eyes a little and see. All these days I have been thinking that I can see by keeping my eyes closed. For this reason, I am performing the duty of offering obeisances to the lotus feet of Sri Guru by giving up my worldly vanity. This is the first object of offering my worship, to give up the vanity that thinks I see, I enjoy, and this is called offering obeisances. I thought that was actually a really amazing explanation of why Guru has come into our lives and what Guru is here for. I don't think I have ever really spoken much about my journey, so much coming to Srila Gurudev, but I'm just going to say a little about my life. That when I was very young, I had two sides to my life. Materially, I actually had a crossed eye, and it made it very difficult because I was laughed at and teased and humiliated and so many things. It was very difficult at school. But on the other side, I actually had a very secure family, mother, father, and two elder brothers who were always there for me, probably because these were the difficulties I went through. So when I was 5 years old, my father told me that God is a person. He lives on another planet. And if you're a good girl, you go and live with him when you die. So in my childlike simplicity and also suffering as I was in my external world, I just took shelter of this person, this God who lived on another planet and who was my friend. He was always there for me. He was always watching over me, and he wanted to see how I was living my life as to whether or not he would let me go back there. So I actually grew up with this very simple relationship with God. I didn't really understand so much. I just accepted. So my mom was very good when it came to time of having the polio jab and all these things my brothers had. I told her that, no, it's up to God whether I get sick or not. I just want to depend on him. And she said, no problem. She was very good. So I tried to depend on the Lord as much as I could. So then when I got a lot older, in my early 20s, and then I met the devotees and Srila Prabhupada, and then I found that how amazing. There's this book called Krishna Book that actually tells you all about this planet that God lives on. And it tells you what happens there. It tells you about the relationships there. And the Lord himself's relationships is with his family and friends and everything. And yeah, it was just so amazing. And so this God that I had always depended on also Srila Prabhupada was saying in these Krishna book and in some of his classes and things, that this God, he was a young cowherd boy who played a flute, and he was very beautiful. And even while you were in this world, now you could actually start to develop a relationship with him, because in this world, actually, we are the soul, we're not the body, we're inside the body. And so our soul is ultimately what's making everything work, the body and the mind, everything. Without the soul there, you know, the body goes. So that soul is hankering actually for its true heritage, for its rightful position, for that pure, unmotivated, selfless love, which can only be had actually with the Supreme Lord, with Krishna and his associates. So, yeah, because our heart is longing for that in this world, we try to find that in relationships, in buying things, in living a life exactly like they do actually in the spiritual world, having relationships, yeah, everything. But without Krishna, it can never satisfy us. So we've taken so many incarnations, trying different bodies, different situations, different moods, different natures, different good and bad situations, and never actually being able to satisfy ourselves. So Guru now is linking us to something very, very deep and very important. So, yeah, in this world also, I had also been looking, as everybody does, because our soul is hankering for that pure love. I was looking for a perfect loving relationship. And I did try. I gave my best, and I actually had very nice reciprocations, but I was never satisfied. And I could not understand why. What is it that's happening? Why am I never satisfied in the end? And then, of course, when we read the books and heard the classes, then we understand, oh, that's why, because actually I don't belong here, and I can't be fully satisfied in a relationship here unless it's centered around Krishna and his associates. So also, Srila Prabhupada did not talk a lot about Radharani, although it was in the Krishna book. But because I'd been looking for a perfect love in this world, when I read the Shikshastakam and I saw the 8th verse, and it explained how Radharani's love was so selfless, I decided that's the love I want. I want to have a love like that. So I used to write Radha in tilak on my arm. So anyway, so then I, for many, many years, I did seva and I served and like that. But there was never, as I think quite a few people said today, there was never a lot of information about Srimati Radharani and our relationship with her, or how any of that would develop, or even too much really about Krishna and Radha. So this is where, at a certain point, after many, many years after Srila Prabhupada left, I actually felt like I could remember, but I couldn't connect in the same way. And I wanted those feelings back. I wanted the things I'd experienced back. But I also became disturbed for many things happening in my life and around me. And so I actually started to pray to, I have a Srila Prabhupada Murti. I started to pray to Srila Prabhupada, where is what you gave me? Where is what you gave me? And every day I was actually crying every day, and I was just begging, where is what you gave me? Where is what you gave me? So after a very short period, a letter came through my door, which actually I think Shoda Gopi had sent. And it was inviting me to go and hear from Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, who was actually coming to the West for the first time. And he was speaking in my town about 5 streets away from where I was. So that was very amazing. So I did go. I had a lot of questions because of things I had already learned. I wondered why to speak so high, and only 3.5 associates had heard, and all these questions. So I was asking my questions, and I think initially they thought I had come actually to check out what was happening, but I hadn't. I'd only come to check out from my own heart what was happening because I was interested. So anyway, so when I saw Srila Narayan Maharaj, yeah, I wasn't actually expecting it, but I realized that this person definitely, I mean, how to explain in words, but when we see, hear, observe someone on that level, like Srila Prabhupada or Srila Narayan Maharaj or any of the other wonderful pure devotees, well, there's just something incredibly different about them. And there's an aura that comes out. There's a way they conduct themselves, hold themselves, speak. There's just this whole energy, which is not from this world. So I recognized, oh, something here, definitely. So I got the books. I read Sri Prabhandavali. I read Nectar of Govinda Leela and the Going Beyond Vaikuntha, Bhakti Rasayan. And when I read those books, then I understood they were so incredibly beautiful, and everything I had been trying to find that I couldn't find because I had looked in Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in different places. I didn't read a lot. In fact, I hardly read anything in the whole time I was there, but I had looked in places for Madhurya Rasa and to find out more. And then when I read these books, I just knew that Srila Prabhupada definitely is answering my prayers. These books were so incredibly amazing. I would say to anyone who actually hasn't read those books to definitely read them. They are amazing. So, so Srila Narayan Maharaj, he, like Srila Prabhupada, he came to the West and he gave so much to us Westerners. He and Srila Prabhupada were misunderstood both in India and in the West because they gave so much to us Westerners. They really, really, really have given a gift, a divine gift, which no one else actually gave us. So we're deeply, deeply grateful to them. So Srila Narayan Maharaj, he gave so much. He gave Radha Dasyan in detail. He gave the internal reasons of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's descent, which I'd never understood. I actually wanted to be one pointed to Radha and Krishna, but I wondered, where does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fit in? And in his Manashiksha, he answers that exact question. He actually puts the question and he answers it because actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna. So he answered every single question that I had. He gave us the tattvas to back everything up. He told us no imagination, but you have to aspire. You have to hear these beautiful leelas and aspire actually to understand your real relationship, who you are. So he also printed the Jivadam, which is the most amazing book. And as far as I can remember, I think he did it in Hindi first. And in order to do it in Hindi, I think he had to learn Bengali, and he did it. And his guru was extremely pleased with him. I think I got the details right for that. So an amazing thing that he taught for me, especially in the situation coming from one Sangha to another, he taught how to reconcile the seeming differences between pure devotees. Because this is, I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one of the blocks to praying, to pure praying, is sectarianism amongst Vaishnava sects. So this is such an important thing, so that we can actually respect and honor all Vaishnavas wherever they are. and understand that because they have seeming differences, there actually are no differences in Tattva. They're just specialities, it's individuality. So this is something that for my own path, I'm beginning to realize how unlimited actually is this path, and how even listening to the devotees today, it was so wonderful. They were so varied. They had such slightly different moods towards different gurus and mixtures of gurus, and it's so uniquely different. So in the spiritual world, everybody's serving Radha and Krishna. They're all uniquely different. No one is the same for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. So similarly, our relationships with Radha and Krishna and our relationships with our gurus are also uniquely different for their pleasure. So I think Siddhanta Maharaj told a beautiful story. He was saying how, let me just find here so I remember. He was saying how when he was younger, when he heard from Sadhu Guru, and his heart was affected. And he said, Bhakti is to do with the heart. He said, the eyes don't hear, the nose doesn't hear. He said, the ears hear. So he said that, the ears, they're like this. So he said, when you put that together, the ears like that, sorry, it makes a heart. And he said also, in the middle of the word heart is ear, because it's H-E-A-R-T. And he said, so Bhakti is not just knowledge or rules, it's a heart experience. So I thought that was actually a very beautiful explanation. And I thought it was quick because there's so much more I'd like to say. And I think I've only got about 6 minutes left. One quick story I wanted to tell. One devotee, amazing devotee, she was leaving her body with cancer. She had already interviewed many people in India about Srila Prabhupada, and she was writing a book. And somewhere very near the end of her journey to her next destination, she had, I don't know if it was a vision or a dream, I don't remember, because somebody she told me. But she had this amazing, whatever it was, vision. She was at the gates of Varshana, and she was trying to open them, and they were locked. And she was saying, oh, I can't get in. Can anybody help me? Can anyone help me? I can't get in. So from one side, she saw many people from Srila Prabhupada's Sangha, with people she'd actually had a relationship with at the front. And she was asking, can you help me? Nobody could open the door. So on the other side, there were many people from Srila Gurudevas Sangha, people she also had close relationship with. And she was asking, can you open the door? The gate? And they tried, no, we can't open. So she saw Srila Gurudev in the distance, and she ran over and she said, I can't get in, can you open the door, the gate for me? So Srila Gurudev said, go back to the gate and look inside. So when she went back to the gate, she saw coming towards her Srila Prabhupada in the dress that we knew him, or she wouldn't have known it was him. And he said to her, you are not quite ready yet, but when you are, I will let you in myself. And so this was a very wonderful revelation, actually. And so whether before she left, she actually finished that journey and got let in, or whether it will take more time, that I don't know. But I thought how interesting that we all have different relationships with our gurus, or if we've got more than one guru. But they're all valid, and we have to be really sensitive, I think, to it's so easy by mistake, especially for myself, I don't have the best communication methods, to maybe be misunderstood or upset someone without meaning to. And also sometimes to be upset ourselves without someone meaning to. So I think these are really, really important things, that pure devotees, they work together, they're non-envious. They're just a team. Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev, to me, they're a team, and they always will be, whether it's here or whether it's up there. It may take me many, many lifetimes to get back. I have a lot to go through, but at least my head is filled while I'm here with the most beautiful stories, the most beautiful relationships between pure devotees, between Radha and Krishna, between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Roy, Sambad, and so many beautiful, beautiful things that even though for myself, I can say I have blocks, but I can't go anywhere else. I may sometimes slip down to the mental platform and feel like I'm no good, I'll never do it, completely, you know. But then we have to pull ourselves back up and know that, yes, I'm no good, but they are perfect and they can do it for me. So somehow or other, asking the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and my gurus, I ask that you will help me get through. Many people today have spoken actually about things, weaknesses, and I see that from my childhood trauma at the school and things, I actually have a block of fear in relating, especially to seeming authority figures. And that block is holding me up in my path at the moment. I know that I have to get through that block somehow in order to continue down the path and get what is my goal and what is my life's search and my life's desire. So, yeah, I can only ask everyone's blessings, everyone's mercy, everyone's compassion, that they will forgive my mistakes and my foolishness, and at least pray for me that somehow or other the Lord will arrange whatever it is that will take me past that block. It may be someone I know at the moment, it may not. I don't know what it means, but this block I need to get past if I want to really attain my goal. So with that, I think I have about 1 minute left. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah. So I offer my obeisances millions of times with as much of my heart as I can give to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. And I am so, so deeply grateful. And I offer my obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Jai Srila.
Wow. Wow, Didi, that was so much full of jewels and instruction and nectar from the early way in which you were Sharanagat, or, you know, surrendering even before coming on this path. And I especially loved how you're reminding us to read the books. I've heard Her Grace Syamarani share that Srila Gurudev said, when you have these books, like, first of all books for all people, and that these are not books. These are actually, you know, when I'm reading, and I have Sri Shastakam right here, I'm sitting, I always have a stack of these glorious books, because I think of them after hearing from Her Grace Syamarani Didi, that this is not a book. This is actually the Acharyas. This is our chance to sit at their lotus feet and hear directly from them, you know, in that way. And so whether I'm reading, you know, any of this Vaishnav literature, any Gaudiya literature, I always try to think of that. And also I'm in classes with Sripad Mahabuddhi Prabhu, who'll be speaking shortly as well. And just, we're reading through Sarartha Darshini right now, the 10th canto, with the commentary of Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. And I was struck, I'm still struck by, you know, we've come very far in that book. We were reading about the personified Vedas, and how in his commentary, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur takes additional time to offer additional invocation. This is how much honoring he is of this, you know, just what we are having a chance to imbibe. And I've heard it told that even if someone doesn't ever open the book, just having the book is auspicious. It might not be for them, it might be for someone else.
Srila Prabhupada said, if you dust it, you're doing deity worship.
Yeah. So so much mercy. And also one other thing you shared, you know, I've come to this path very recently in 2018, but I do understand. I heard earlier last night, I put this on before I went to sleep. I'm in California, so it started almost 11 o'clock last night. But I heard someone say, oh, you know, those who have had direct association with Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, have been seen by someone from the spiritual world, seen by an associate of Srimati Radhika and Sri Krishna. They've had that darshan. And that is just incredible to know, to know. And I understand you were saying there's an energy, but there's actual praying particles that come off of these pure devotees when we have the fortune to be in their presence. And that, who knows what that does. I'm sure as you were saying, Didi, having blockages or anartas, I mean, at some point we will get through anarta nivriti, we will get to nishta, we will get to ruchi, we'll get to bhav, we'll get to prem. Like you said, no matter whether it's a dozen lifetimes or a million lifetimes or something, the promises of our acharyas are that we will have that. And if you read the books, actually more and more promises come, like in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, almost every chapter has some incredible blessing like that. So thank you for those sweet, sweet reminders. And thank you for coming on our Bhakti Zoom.
And I also heard that when you meet the pure devotee of the Lord, it actually means that your sojourn in the material world is coming to an end.
Yes,
So.
yes, Haribol. So yeah, the other
Haribol.
thing I always think those we're meeting on this path right now are probably our eternal friends and associates as well. So anyway, thank you, Haribol.
Haribol.
I look forward to hearing from you again on this platform or somewhere else. Thank you so much. We're going to keep the blessings rolling because our next speaker is Sripad Vana Maharaj. I need to locate him, or I don't know who can. Let me see. I'm just trying to see where he is. Oh, there you are, Maharaj. Haribol. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And I'm actually going to put you in the spotlight. Dandavats, Maharaj. It's so nice to see you again. Sripad Vana Maharaj is a godbrother of my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Madhav Goswami Maharaj. Both of them received their shiksha and Harinam and Diksha from Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Also taking Srila Vana Maharaj has taken sannyas from Srila Gurudev. He's now preaches around the world. We're fortunate to just have him here in LA, where I was grateful that I had brought my book on Srimati Radhika for you to autograph, Maharaj, and give me a blessing. But I'm going to give you the floor now, and you have 25 minutes as well. And if you'd like me to cue you at any point, you can, I'm happy to do that. Or if you want to keep your own time, that's fine too. I don't want to interrupt your flow. But I can't hear you yet, Maharaj.
Did you listen?
Oh, there. Yes, I hear you now.
Okay. Chakshurmitang jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namam. Namam Vishnupadaya Radhika Vai Priyatmane Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Iti Namine Vande Guru Padadandang Bhakta Vrinda Samanitam Sri Chaitanyang Prabhu Vande Nityananda Sahoditam Nandanandanang Vande Radhika Charanadam Gopinang Samajuktanam Vrindavana Manoharam Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratise Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Tavaivasmi Najibami Taya Bina Ete Viggayate Radhe Tanganayami Charanantike Sirupa Manjari Kararjita Pada Padma Gushtandana Vijarpita Mastakaya Ha Mudada Kanagauri Padarabindam Sanabhayani Sanakai Stavakim Karishe Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, offer my humble, respectful obeisances, lotus feet of my Guru Pad Padma, Nitya Lila, Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtutara Satasya Srimad Bhakti Vedanta, Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj, and my Siksha Guru and Sannyas Guru Nitya Lila, Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtutara Satasya Bhakti Vedanta, Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and simultaneously offer my humble, respectful Dandavat Pranam, lotus feet of Nitya Lila, Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtutara Satyamad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Guru Bindu Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakar Shidhar Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and all senior devotees and all Vaishnavis, and presented all of my respectful guests. So today is very super excellent, auspicious day, because today the Apperance day of our beloved Gurudev Nitya Prashna Vishnupad Ashtutara Sadmad Bhakti Vedanta Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And today is very our memorial day, and also very super excellent auspicious day, very Mahatmapurna day, because Srimati Radhika, she sent her very nearest, dearest Sakhis to in this material world to deliver all the living entities, those who are completely affected with Maya and suffering many kinds of distress of Maya. So Guru Pad Padma is very merciful. And Guru Pad Padma, he has come from Golok Vrindavan. That means Srimati Radhika, she sends Raman Manjari how to give mercy to all the living entities. For this regard, I explain today's very super excellent auspicious day. And if Gurudev would not appear in this material world, how I will deliver from this material world, how to perform bhajan and sadhan. So Gurudev, he actually explained, he is showing his own life history to us. Sadhaka rupena siddha rupena cha atrahi. And Srila Rupa Goswami Pad very clearly explained our Guru Vargas. They are the eternal associates of Srimati Radhika. And that is called as Manjaris. But they have come in this material world and showing their sadhana and bhajan, how to attain to abode to Lord. They are not sadhaka. They are called siddha. Means they are eternal associates of Srimati Radhika. And they are acting the role of an ordinary sadhak. Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told, Apani achari jibere sikhan, apani na koita dharma sikhano na jai. And if anyone not practicing himself, he can't to preach. So that means he have to practice, and he's showing his life history, how he is practicing and bhajan and sadhan to Lord. So in this way, our beloved Gurudev is the eternal associate of Srimati Radhika, that is called Raman Manjari. But in front of us, and he is acting the role of sadhak, and all we know him is Narayan Maharaj. So Gurudev sometimes he also told his own life history, because in the beginning, when I also joined in Devan in Mathura Math, and we stay with the Gurudev. Gurudev that time spoke very nice, beautiful, sweet Hari Katha. And sometimes he also told his own life history. And how did he join and Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti and have took shelter lotus feet of his Guru Nitya Prishtam Vishnupad Ashtutara Satta Sriman Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. Because without taking shelter lotus feet of Guru, any method one cannot deliver from this material world. Binu Guru Bhavanidhi Taruna Koi, you Brinchi Sankara Samahe, Tulsidas Ramayan. And Gurudev, most of the time, he also quoted the verse Hindi slokas of Tulsidas and Tulsidasi Ramayan. Binu Guru Bhavanidhi Taruna Koi, jo Shankara Brinchi Samahe. One who has qualification, a vast of knowledge, as like Brahma or Shiva, but without taking shelter, lotus feet of bona fide genuine Guru, any method cannot deliver from this material world. And in the same way, Gurudev, he told his life history, and just I remembering, and today, Gurudev once he told his own life history in front of us in Mathura in his Hari Katha. And Gurudev, he told he was born in high class Brahman family, that is called Tiyari Brahman. Tiyari meaning they are Trivedi Brahmanas. There are many kinds of Brahmanas. And Chaturbedi, Dvedi, Trivedis Brahmanas. And so Gurudev, he told that I was born in high class Trivedi Brahman. Trivedi Brahman means those Brahmanas knows the three Vedas. Three means three Vedas. Rik, Sam, Jojo. Or those Brahman know the four Brahmana, four Vedas, they are Chaturvedi Brahmana. Those Brahman know the only two Vedas, they are called Dvedi Brahmana. And so Gurudev, he told he was born in high class Trivedi Brahman in Bihar, in Buxar. And Gurudev was born 1921 and the dark moon in the month of Magh. That is called the Mauni Amavasya. And this Mauni Amavasya is very Mahatmapurna Din, very memorable day also. And Samavati Mauni Amavasya. And that day Shivji, he completely to stop to speak to anyone. That is a very nice, beautiful story. Why called the Mauni Amavasya? Time is very short, so I am not speaking the meaning of Mauni Amavasya. Actually, that day Shivji, he completely absorbed the remembrance of his Ishtadevas and Ram Sita Katha, and not in other Katha. And so very nice, beautiful pastimes. And that time Gurudev, he was born from the womb of his mother. And that time, according to the custom of Bihar, and in that village, most of the people, they were the Sri Sampradayas, and they chant Ram Nam. So Gurudev told, when I was born, that time everybody, they also chanted Ram, 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 Ram. And because Mauni Amavasya, at that time everybody also chanted Ram Nam and taking bath in the Ganges. Ram Nam. So Gurudev told, actually I born and that time everybody was chanted Ram Nam. As like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared, that time also is called Purna Chandra Grahan. And that is called the Purnima, but that is called lunar eclipse. And at the time of lunar eclipse, Purna Chandram, it is called, and Chandra Grahan. And that time everybody also chanted Lord's holy names and taking bath in the Ganges. So when we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in the born at the name of Nam Sankirtane Prabhu Hoila Avatar. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared at the time of Nam Sankirtan. In the same way, our beloved Gurudev, Syamarani Goswami Maharaj, he was born, and that time everybody was chanting Nam Sankirtan and taking bath in the Ganges. Only difference, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in Purnima Tithi, because that time was lunar eclipse. Our Gurudev, he was born, and that time is called Mauni Amavasya. That is called new moon. Only these there. But Nam Sankirtan, both also appeared in Nam Sankirtan. Because in this Kali Yuga, there is no any other process attend to abode of Lord. Nam Sankirtane Jive Huive Kallan. In the chanting of the holy names, everybody will get the benefit. So Nam Sankirtan. In this way, Gurudev, he told, and my father name was Baleswar Nath Tiwari, and he was high class, educated, and exalted, and Brahman. And his mother name was Lakshmi Devi, and both they were initiated and with Ramanuj Sampradayas, and they also chanted Ram Nam. And they followed all the rules and regulations of Ramanuj Sampradaya Vaishnav. So Gurudev, he told, when I was born, then at that time my father so came in front of the one Jyotishi, that is called astrologer. And just that Jyotishi, astrologer, he also made my very nice, beautiful and Janma Kundali, that is called birth chart. And according my birth chart, and that Pandita also gave me Narayan Nam. He was very simple for his life, and called him also and not the Pandit. And Gurudev also told me, though Panditas gave me my name Narayan, but I was very simple. And for this regard, all my family members, they called me Bhola. Bhola means that the Bengali or Hindi word, Bhola means who is very simple. And as like you are saying, Bholanath, means Shivji. When Gurudev, he told, when I was very small, I never cried. And where they put me, I am staying in there. And always very jolly mood. And so everybody called me Bhola. And so for the and I was very simple, Gurudev told. And so Gurudev told, in my childhood, also according to my family's custom, and I was very interested with Ram Nam, and I interested to listen Ram Katha. And I also saw when Gurudev, he preached in Western country, and everywhere he's going, I saw in especially European country, Holland, others, and Gurudev so much eager to listen and Ram Katha, especially Ramananda Sagar, when he manifested the Ramayana. That time I saw Gurudev, he was watching the Ramayana. Even Gurudev also called to us, everybody had to come and listen a Ram Katha. So Gurudev, he was Gurudev in his childhood, always he also chanted Ram Nam. And this is called my Janma Sanskar. Just I also repeated the words of Gurudev. Gurudev is called my Janma Sanskar. And I also so much interested to listen Srimad Bhagavat Kathamritam. And that time when I was very small, maybe I not understand the meaning of the slokas of Srimad Bhagavatam. But when I listened Bhagavat Katha, especially Gopi Git Katha, I cried. Taba Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavi Viriditam Kalma Sahapam Sravana Mangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Ginanti Te Bhurida Jana. Gurudev told, when I listen Bhagavat Katha, Srimad Bhagavatam, that time my heart completely melted. I remember these things. And sometimes my father, he also recited some choir of Tulsidasi, Ramayan, and sometimes Ramchandra and Hanuman, Lakshman, Sita Devi, they also appeared in my dream. In my dream, I want to touch their feet, but they disappear. And in this way, sometimes I also absorbed with Ramchandra and Ram Katha. I saw also myself, direct I saw, and especially Ramchandra's appearance day, and Avirbhav Tithi, 1 month, Gurudev, he also gave class about Raman, Valmiki Raman. That time Gurudev, mostly he gave class about Raman in Valmiki Raman, because Valmiki Raman, that is called Mula Raman, Mula Ramanaschaiva. Mula Raman, the original Raman, that is called Valmiki Raman. So Gurudev also told, in my school, when I grew up, I was the first students in my class. Every time, every year, and I also got the prize also. And I completely absorbed and different what is called activities of school activities, as like music and what is called and sports and football match and different so recitation and and different way, and always I was in first, and also sometimes I recited Sanskrit slokas, and all the students in our school, they became very surprised the pronunciation of my Sanskrit slokas. Even in my Kulaguru means family gurus, because in India this is the system, and before taking the spiritual master, you have to receive a mantra from your Kulaguru, that is called family guru. Otherwise, no one can drink water from your hand. But nowadays, completely different. We saw also these things also. So my Kulaguru also very love and affection with me, and sometimes he also to glorify about Ram Katha or Srimad Bhagavat Katha, then I so much interested to listen. And in this way, Gurudev he told, and then Gurudev he told, I got the service, that is government service, British government service, police superintendent, and that time the police superintendent, and in my department, one high rank officer, he was Bengali, and just Gurudev told his name, just I forget, and he has so much love and affection with me, and he was a religious person also, and sometimes he also glorified about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Katha. But at that time I don't know about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I know only Ramchandra, Sri Ramchandra Katha and Srimad Bhagavatam Krishna Katha. But that's high rank officer, sometimes he also explained about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Katha. But at that time I did not completely understand about Bengali many verses he recited, and as like Chaitanya Chaitamritam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Gurudev told, that time I can't understand, but I'm so much interested to listen about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Katha. Then anyhow, Lord is very merciful. Then one day I met with Narottam Ananda, and brahmachari and his party also came and in our place and to preach. And then I heard about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's what is called Udar Jata and magnanimity and magnificent. Then I'm so much interested. And especially when I heard this katha, Anarpit Charing Chirad Corona Avatir Nakalu, Shamar Paitu, Nutu Jurasan, Subakti Siram, Hari Purata Sundruti Katabasandir Pita, Sada Hida Kamdaris Puratuva, Sachinandana. And I heard this katha, then my eyes become very and wide, and tears rolling down from my eyes and heart completely melted. Then I am thinking I have to meet with his guru and his sangha. Then I also give up my job, though I also married, and I gave up my married life, and I also came in Navadvip Dham, and that time and Srila Gurudev, Mane Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he sent to Vaman Goswami Maharaj to bring me from Navadvip Dham station. And that time Santosh Brahmachari. That his name was Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari. And when I arrived in Navadvip Dham, that time railway station completely full of dark, and also no any light, just one candle and this. That time Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari, he just asked me, "Oh, are you Tyari?" Then I said, "How do you know my name is Tyari?" Now Gurudev sent me, then Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Gurudev sent me to bring you in our temple. Then I became very surprised. Then Vaman Goswami Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari, he brought me in Devananda Gaudiya. I met with my Gurudev. When first time I met with my Gurudev, then I offered myself everything. Gurudev, he told, just I repeated the Gurudev language. Gurudev told, the first time when I met with my Gurudev, then I tell Gurudev, all the love and affection of my family member, I offer to your lotus feet. And then Gurudev, and Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj's heart melted and tears rolling down, and he embraced me. And this is called the Saranagati. This is called perfect Diksha. Diksha Kale Sisya Kare Atma Samarpan, Sei Kale Krishna Tare Kare Atma Saman, Sei Deha Haitar Chidanandamoy, Aprakita Dehe Sri Krishna Bhajay. Just what he listened from Gurudev, just I also just repeated this one. So Gurudev and Vaman Goswami Maharaj and Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari, that time Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari, he was the PM and personal assistant of my Gurudev. He cooked for Gurudev, he washed his Gurudev everything, but Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari, he also gave me the service to the lotus feet of my Gurudev. So always I am what is called Chirarini. I did in depth of Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Many times Gurudev, he also glorified about Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Vaman Goswami Maharaj, he also engaged to me to serve the lotus feet to my Gurudev. Whatever I have need, and he also arranged everything for me. And also Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, and that time Radhanath Dasadikari, he also show love and affection with me. And that time both, we are three. That means Vaman Goswami Maharaj, myself, and Trivikram Goswami Maharaj. All three always engaged to serve Srila Gurudev, my Gurudev, and Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. And Srila Gurudev told, and sometimes my Gurudev Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he chastised to Vaman Goswami Maharaj and Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, but he never chastised to me. But we actually asked Gurudev, why did not we chastise you? Gurudev told, I was police officer. So little bit my and Kshatriya mood is there. For this regard, and Gurudev knows my nature. For this regard, and he never chastised to me. But if I ask any question, he very nicely and softly and love and affection, he gave answer. But when Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, he asked any question, then he told, oh, you can see this book, this book, this book, this book, this is these things. So in this way, and where my Gurudev, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he used to preach. Also, all three we are followed him. He also told, very difficult to preach in Midnapur, in Bengal. He told, Medripurer Mate, tin joda juta phate. That means in the rice field of Midnapur, and that is very hard also. That time people, the preachers going to preach, and with the choti, understand? That the shoes. At least, and 1 month, 3 choti juta. You broken. So Gurudev also told this. And there are people also very and asking, always they are asking the question. And very difficult to preach in there. And especially Balighai, if you read Jaivadharma Grantha, Brahman Vaishnav Vijay Katha is explained in there. And that people always asking questions. And so Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and he used to preach in that in Midnapur, Bengal, West Bengal in Midnapur. So most of the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti, and we see the Bengali devotees coming from Midnapur. Most of the Midnapur or Chaubish Pargana. So Gurudev, he told them, and his duty you have to showing the slide show. You know, that time everything. One day, and that he forgot to bring the slideshow. That time he thinking, what will do now? And that time Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, don't worry, I tell. So when Harikatha finished, then Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj told, then Brahmacharis, they will show the slide show. That is the Prahlad character, the character Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj Katha, slide show. Then Trivikram Maharaj he told, hey Gurudev, today is cloudy, maybe rain will come, so no need to show the slideshow. That time Bhakti Pragyan said, okay, no problem, today no need. In this way, Trivikram Goswami Maharaj and many times also helped to him and his service. And in this way, and then Gurudev, he also took sannyas. Very nice katha is there also. And at a time, 3 persons also took sannyas. And Sajjan Sivak Brahmachari, then Radhana Dasadhikari, and Gaur Narayan Dasadhikari. They also took, and in this way, they took sannyas, their name, or and in this way. And then Gurudev, he also fulfilled the desire of all his acharyas. And Pridhivite Achejata Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Huibe Mornam. And Sri Chaitanya Manobhistang Sthapitang Jana Bhutale Sang Rupa Kadamat Jang Dadati Sapadantikam. In the same way, Sri Chaitanya Manobhistang Sthapitang Jana Bhutale Sang Narayanam and Kadadajam Dadati Sapadantikam. Srila Goswami Maharaj, and who fulfilled all the desires of previous acharyas, especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire, when Srila Gurudev Nand Goswami Maharaj will give shelter in his lotus feet. And Srila Gurudev, and he preached all over the world. And especially, and Gurudev, he pushed to Bhakti Vedanta Srila Swami Maharaj. And this is a very important subject also. And Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, he did not want to take sannyas. And but Srila Gurudev Nand Goswami Maharaj, and again and again told you have to take sannyas. And Gurudev told, when my Gurudev Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he came in and Mathura Keshavji Gaudiya Math. That time I also introduced to Gurudev. Gurudev, you please give to sannyas to and Abhay Charan De, Abhay Charan Baba. So Gurudev this way. When Gurudev, he told, I also arranged his sannyas, parphanila, fire sacrifice. Even I also made his danda, everything is there. I and it is all his jaggas, every person, Brahman, all activities I also did this. And then he took sannyas, then he came in Western country and preached all over the world. So Gurudev told, and I have so much love and affection with Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. And most of the time, he also wrote many letters, and patra. And I saw also Gurudev room, and about more than 2,000 letters I saw Gurudev room is there. But one, I don't know, one sannyasi of ISKCON, he asked to Gurudev, that time so much love and affection, ISKCON sannyasi was coming, and they took, okay, this is Prabhupada, and later, Prabhupada handwriting letter will be print out this, that sannyasi he took from Gurudev, and Gurudev very simple that time. I don't know where is the letter, most of the letter I heard, they destroyed. But rest of the letters now also Gurudev and published and letters of America and these things also. And Gurudev so much love and affection. When Swami Maharaj was preaching in America, that time Gurudev told, and every week I also send different parphanila of Thakurji, sometimes Kartal, sometimes Murti, Vigraha, sometimes also Mathuras, Paris, and Peda, I also send it. And so love and affection with him. And so many kathas is there, but time is very over.
Yes,
Because
yes,
many
Maharaj,
kathas,
I'm
Gurudev,
sorry to have to
when I will
say.
speak about Gurudev Katha, automatically many things automatically coming. And Bhaktar Bhagavat Katha. And if we speak Bhagavat Katha, then Bhakta Katha automatically come. When we speak about Srila Gurudev Katha, automatically Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Katha automatically come. And our tongue automatically dance how to glorify about him. And Gurudev is so kind. And he also giving shelter to everybody. So sometimes I'm singing this song, Jadi Narayana Naita, Tabe ki hoita, Kemone Dhori Tamde, Radhara Mahima, Premorasa Sima, Jagate Janato ke, Are Gao Puno Puno, Narayaner Guno, Sarala Hoyamon. And if Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj would not appear in this material, who can glorify the last limit, divine love of Srimati Radhika? And Srila Gurudev, he manifested Srimati Radhika's highest mood. And so far this regard, say, Gao Punapuna, again and again, he also glorified about Gurudev's Hari Katha. Panchaguru Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanang Pavane Bho Vaishnave Bho Namo. Thank you for your kindness. Give me time and to glorify about our beloved Gurudev Katha. Panchaguru Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanang Pavane Bho Vaishnave Bho Namo. Thanks for this.
Well, thank you so much.
Gurudev.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Sripad, Bhaktivedanta Vana Maharaj. I know there's so much to say. I think anyone could speak almost endlessly about Srila Gurudev. Your Harikatha was so beautiful and touched upon so many things. And it's funny, I'm watching Ramanand Sagar's Ramayan right now. I'm like maybe on the 64th or something episode, and it is amazing. It actually makes me think of whenever I'm watching the Ram Katha, because I've heard from Srila Gurudev, I think of when Krishna told the gopis, yes, I was Lord Ram, and they said, no, no, you were not Ram. And then he builds the bridge across the pond for them to cross. I think of that.
Gurudev also went in Sita Devi's birthplace and with the devotees also. Just I think 2009, Gurudev and Gurudev also went in the birthplace of Sita Devi. I remember Gurudev so much love and affection to Ramchandra. Ram Katha also. And without this mercy, he's teaching to us also. Without this mercy of Ramchandra, how will enter in Krishna Katha? Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad very clearly explained. And without this mercy of Lord Ramchandra, not so easy to become the Gopi Bhav, Gopi mode. Because Ramchandra, when he entered in and Dandakaranya, that Rishi Munis, those who chanted Gopal Mantra, when they saw Ramchandra's form, that is so much stimulation, Uddipan coming, and they were running behind to roll Ramchandra. That Ramchandra gave bless. So then, and after my Ram Lila, I will accept you, and all you take birth in Braj in the home of the gopis. So that is called Munichiri gopis. So in the many in the Krishna Lilas, many kinds of gopis, Sutichari, Munichari, this is the thing also. And Gurudev,
Yeah,
many Katha
yeah.
Tattva Siddhanta is there. And if I give me at least 10 hours, then I can also speak find something I will say. But this is true. Gurudev Katha, how possible? And this is a good
Yeah,
Praman. Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
know
much.
there are
And
many
thank you for
speakers
sharing.
also there. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, thank you for sharing those jewels about his early life too, because I had never heard he was called Bola, or there was one other thing about Sankirtan being
Nam
manifest.
Sankirtan.
To the
Yeah.
birds. That was really, really beautiful to
Yeah,
know. Thank
Yeah,
you
there's
so
a
much.
Mauni on both side, no? Yeah.
Jai, Jai.
Okay.
All right. Well, I know that we're really running behind now, but I don't know. Ramananda tasked me with trying to catch up. I don't think it's going to happen, but I am going to move into introducing our next speaker. Thank you so much, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Van Maharaj. The next one I'm going to unmute is Sripad Mahabuddhi Prabhu. Oh, you already unmuted, Prabhu. Sorry
Yes.
about that. So let me do a very quick introduction, although many already know this very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I feel so blessed to count him as a friend and a mentor of Shiksha as well. And he has this Kshatriya mood. So it's no surprise he also served as security for Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. Mahabuddhi Prabhu, Yasasvini, yours, please. You have 25 minutes and I can cue you if you like, or if you want to keep time, you let me know. If you want me to give you a heads up when your time is coming to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Dandavats. I'll start it after your invocation.
Om Agnya Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakai Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurve Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskatya Deshatarni Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayani Tinamani. Offer my Dandavat pranams unto both my Diksha and Shiksha gurus, and to all the senior God brothers and Vaishnavas that are glorifying Srila Gurudev, to all of our Guru Varg, both past, present, and future, and to all the assembled devotees here on this occasion of glorification of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Te sam satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mama payanti te. So I'm kind of the placeholder between Ban Maharaj and Syamarani Didi. So it's kind of like the backup band here. I met Srila Gurudev in the early 1970s as I was running Prabhupada's Darshan and Prabhupada's Guard, a segment of about probably eight or nine of the Gaudiya Mat devotees came to visit Srila Prabhupada. And at that time, I didn't know who was who. I knew who Krishnadas Babaji was, because he was always by the temple and chanting Hare Krishna, but I didn't know all the other devotees. So Prabhupada was introduced, and Srila Gurudev was there along with some of his other godbrothers. And at that time, Srila Prabhupada asked me to remove all of his disciples from the room, and this was in Mayapur, in his room. And I did so. And then I was about to go, and he told me to sit down. And so the speaking became in Bengali, and they were all, he had Krishnadas Babaji sit on the same dais, and all the other devotees were also given much respect. And they were speaking in Hindi, so I had no idea what they were saying. And then they were very, very friendly and very, very happy. You could see the conversation between God brothers. So then he asked me to come, and he asked me to pull down this book from his bookshelf. There was a notebook that Bhakti Tirtha Swami and myself had given him, which was all the reviews from all the different professors in the universities on his books that had done. And he asked me to read them. So I read in English, and I didn't know if they understood, English or not. But as I was reading, glorifying Prabhupada's, through those books, they were all saying sadhu, 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 giving glorification to Srila Prabhupada. And I was thinking, such wonderful relationship between God brothers. This was the first time I met with Srila Gurudev. The next time I had met with him was in the 1980s. I was the general manager for Prabhupada's palace. And that time there was some major controversy about Prabhupada wearing a crown. And I was arguing along with many other devotees from across the world about, the appropriateness or lack of appropriateness of Prabhupada wearing a crown, especially in the palace, where there's literally hundreds, we had millions of people attending during time. And Kirtananda Swami sent Srila Prabhupada, sent Radhanath Swami and myself, although he didn't really want me to go, but we were friends with Radhanath Swami. And we both went, and we went to Srila Gurudev. And Gurudev had explained very nicely that although the sentiment is very nice from a devotee, however, Srila Prabhupada is so much higher than a king, it's not appropriate at all. He's beyond even the worship of the king that is, he's a transcendental personality sent directly from the spiritual world. So when we came back and discussed this in New Vrindavan very, very shortly, the next day or two, Kirtananda had taken off the crown from Srila Prabhupada. So, we had much to do with Srila Gurudev's commentary on that. And then it was some time again before Srila Gurudev, I guess, was coming to the West, and I, was pretty much involved in, managing hospitals. And so I was getting these phone calls that from my godbrothers, Isha Prabhu and Kriparam, that Srila Gurudev wants to see me. And I go, no, I haven't seen him for, I don't know, 10, 12, whatever number of years, actually, So he wants to see you. And I said, okay. So when I went, and when I met him first time, for a long time, he put his hand on my heart and he said, Ti sam satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamapantite. This is the verse Prabhupada had given me to chant every day, all the way back in 1975, 76. So then he said to me, your Guru Maharaj has sent me to help you directly, as I have come to Florida just for you. So I was thinking, he probably says this to everybody, in my critical Mahabuddhi thinking. But it became very clear at that point and followed that Srila Gurudev would call me Mahabuddhi. He would not call me Mahabuddhi, he would call me Mahabuddhi, ocean of devotion. So I was given directly to Srila Gurudev by my Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. So first I'm giving my respects to my spiritual master who so mercifully gave me for my spiritual welfare to Srila Gurudev, without which I would be so much lacking in spiritual growth, it would be unbelievable. And next, I offer my respects to Srila Gurudev, who has opened up my eyes, even though probably I have more direct association with Srila Prabhupada than anyone in this Sangha and most of the ISKCON GBCs, as I was his guard, ran all of his darshans for 5 years, ran library, so many vice president of all the temple presidents, all these things. But still, like so many others have already glorified in Srila Gurudev, we didn't know who Krishna was. We didn't know who Radharani was. We didn't know what the goal of life, other than what was mentioned earlier, go back to Godhead. So all of the innermost desirable things for a devotee, the heart give thing, I owe to Srila Gurudev, who unqualified as I am, I don't have an ounce, I think, of sattva gun, so much Kshatriya type spirit, still unqualified. We had so much opportunities that Srila Guru gave us and Srila Prabhupada has given us. They both of them, as I was so fortunate after hearing what Bhagavat Maharaj said, Srila Prabhupada always had me sit next to him, and also Srila Gurudev would force me to sit in a chair next to him or very close to him. Little did I know anything about what, like Bhagavat Maharaj said, that the closeness also helps. So after thousands and dozens of lectures and stuff, so much hearing, that I'm so indebted to Srila Gurudev for his mercy. I see him as a friend. I miss his association. Anyone, and I can't understand some of my god brothers who turned down the opportunity for shiksha, maybe because of fear, maybe because of lack of critical thinking, but it's so relishable. Srila Prabhupada's association was so much like awe and reverence. He said, jump, and it says, hi, and do it. Srila Gurudev was like, we have known each other for years or lifetimes, and we could speak, and he could speak anything. And he was not only a friend, but a guide, and so many instructions were given that I have to take many verse even to be able to complete some of them. But I thought at this point, I will give some of them, because just recently, within the last couple of weeks, I had a heart attack. And so I am probably living on borrowed time. So I figured I would at least say some of the things that probably I haven't said before on some of the instructions that were given to me, that they may be relevant to some of the other devotees. I remember I asked every year Srila Prabhupada, how do you become serious about this process? And every year Prabhupada would say, and this was like how many years? From 73 to 77, just by becoming serious. So again, I asked Srila Gurudev. So Srila Gurudev actually said, you have heard many times, but I'm going to tell you different. And then he told me the verse, Anabilasita sunyam, Jnana Kamaryanavritam, Anukulena Krishnana Silanam, Bhakti Uttama. And he said, just try to follow Uttama Bhakti, the principles of the topmost pure devotion. And when under the guidance of the Guru and Sri Vaishnavas, all of your energy and all of your activities of mind, body, and words are engaged continuously like a flow of honey. And at that point, pure bhakti may arise in activities, and that's called bhakti. So then he said, you must try for that. So in Houston, Srila Gurudev, we were feeling very like normal. We don't see ourselves as a preacher. We don't see ourselves as a scholar, very learned. So I remember we were there with Bhumi Pati, and they had asked, about sannyas first, and Puru was there, and they came to me and they said, Mahabuddhi will take whenever he wants. But then we were speaking to him, and I think maybe Bhumi Pati may have said first, but we were feeling that we don't really know anything. We're not very, knowledgeable. Of course, he's very knowledgeable now, but Srila Guru told us, whatever you know, you just give that to others. He said it'll be great benefit for them and to you also. So in that instruction, whatever little we know, whatever little we've gained within our heart from association, that we try to give. So one day we were speaking about Srila Gurudev, to Srila Gurudev, and we were speaking, he was asking me about the services I did for Prabhupada, and I had asked him after explaining that is how can we serve you? And they says these parts are, I haven't said too much before. So he said, I am desirous that the Gauravani, the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are parampara preached and which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally followed, should not stop after I leave this world. It should continue. And then he said, everyone should be united. Try to preach everywhere and publish my books. There are so many books. The temple should not be divided into separate mats with separate interests. All the temples and devotees should be united. And then he told me, you will have to try for that. So I said, I'm not very qualified. And then I came back on the next day and I said, okay. I asked, you said that you don't want the Gauravani of Lord Chaitanya to diminish when you were gone. I understood his mood that you were expressing, but if we're not very advanced in understanding of what you are preaching, our understanding is small, how will we perform substantial service to you to make sure it doesn't disappear? And then he came with this verse, which I also spoke to the sannyasis in my visit to Vrindavan after, I don't know, 18 years, the last time I was there or something. And he said this, if all the sannyasis and other preachers give up their false pride, self-interest, and desires for their own prestige, then all endeavors will easily yield positive fruits. If they give up the contamination for the service, can give up contaminations for the service of Guru and Krishna, all devotees can be united. So then I still said, okay, but we are not qualified. We're not really qualified in that mission. And then Srila Gurudev said, I was not referring to everyone. I told this for those who are preachers, like Padmanabha Maharaj, Ban Maharaj, Madhava Maharaj, Nemi Maharaj, Sudadwaiti Maharaj, and all preachers. Then he told me, try to help them to stay together and preach. So then I was still questioning, which is my nature. And Gurudev said, how can you help them? You can beg them, oh Prabhu, please do not be influenced by prestige and self-interest. Please stay, remain together and preach. This was his instruction to me. And Padmanabha Maharaj was there and Madhu Maharaj was there, others, when they said this. So maybe I'm late and forthcoming, but we should see that rather than have so many separate interests and separate temples, not that there can't be separate preaching, but everyone like today, from are all getting together as one unit for Srila Gurudev, and the opportunity, as some of the previous speakers spoke about distributing his books and preaching together rather than having to have a program about who's who and who's going to be the next Acharya and all these different things. Those of us that are Prabhupada's disciples, we have seen this before. You know, this is, we don't want to see it in Gurudev's preaching. So not that you can take a message from me. I told Srila Gurudev, I'm a grihasta, no one's going to listen to me. But he said, still, you must mention this, you must give. So I don't know how long I'm going to be on this planet. Of course, no one knows. But at the same time, this was Gurudev's desire, that everyone stay together, preach on his behalf, give up whatever ahankara and self-interest that we have for our own desires, and preach on his behalf. And in this way, he promised Krishna will provide everything very easily. So I beg all my senior and junior sannyasis and preachers that take this message to heart, not because I'm saying it, but Srila Gurudev said this. And like days like this, we're thankful for Yasodananda and his group of being able to give this opportunity for so many devotees to glorify Srila Gurudev, that this should be our mood going forward among all of us. And this Vrindavan mood, as so many of the devotees have said, is Srila Gurudev's mood. After all, Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada are Radharani Saki Manjaris. They were sent here. Is there any question about that? So how fortunate, just like Bhagavat Maharaj had said earlier, a few speakers back, how fortunate we are to even have darshan, to even hear these lectures and have the association of talking to such, personal representatives of Srimati Radharani. I mean, from our standpoint, even though we were devotees for 20 years, for so many years under Srila Prabhupada, we didn't know anything like this. So, he's come to our heart. He's part of our heart. We know that the whole spiritual world, all of the spiritual planets, all of the devotees in the jiva, they're all included within the super soul. Krishna is there, and that's in everyone's heart. So these instructions. How can we show animosity or worry about who's running this temple or who's owning this property or who's going to be the next acharya? These things are, next acharya will be chosen by Krishna. And we don't have to worry about that. But if we simply take to heart his instructions that he's given us, everybody on this platform that we're hearing has been given some impetus in their heart from Srila Gurudev, some instructions they have to follow. God knows, I will have to take so many births just to follow many of these instructions that I have not even done. So, please, I beg from the core of my heart that take that message seriously. One day, I was not arguing, but challenging Srila Gurudev in a nice way. Seems to be that Gaudiya Math, they all have only sannyasis can preach. It seems like only sannyasis were preaching. And then he said, why is that? I mean, what is the difference from Grihastha and sannyas? And Srila Gurudev had asked these things to me. He said, a Grihastha lives in his house, but his heart is given totally to Guru and Krishna. And then he said, actually, there is no difference between a Grihastha and a sannyasi. And then, in fact, he said from his Guru Maharaj told him this. In fact, sincere Grihasthas are superior to those sannyasis who have worldly desires and selfish motives and are not properly following principles. Trinadapi Sunuchena, he did that verse. And they said, Bhattapuriyan Keshav Maharaj said to him that if a Grihastha follows that verse, he is superior. So if your resolve is, this is my aim and object, this bhakti, this Radha Dasyam, this opportunity to go back home, he said, if you resolve that is your object of life, somehow you have to receive that pure bhakti, then you will give up your house, your wife, your son, prestige, and everything that is unfavorable for your advancement. Of course, being the nature that I am, I asked, is for me as well. He said, yes, that certainly must come. Then he spent the next time preaching many different verses that, shows that Rupa Goswami has said, you must do these things. So one of the interest things also that we had is that we had this discussion, and he was telling me, we were discussing how I came to him, or without me saying it, and how Srila Prabhupada, he said, actually, he said, you you and others have not come to me at all. You have not come. He said, the Guru, he comes to the disciple. If it's a bona fide relationship, the Guru comes to the disciple. We may think, oh, that we did this, and in my case, a book fell on my head, and yada, yada. So many different things, mystical things seem to happen. But that it's not a fact that we did anything. If it's sincere relationship, the Guru will come to the devotee. So a month later, there was a festival in Alachua. This was in Miami, we were discussing. A month later, the festival in Alachua. So there was a walk with about 30 people. And somehow the conversation, there was about 4 or 5 people telling this elaborate stories, how they came to Srila Gurudev. And I was sitting kind of in the back a little bit going, this is weird, because Srila Gurudev told me that that's not a fact, that the Guru. So right in the middle, right at the end, he says, no, you're all wrong. And then he asked me, he said, Mahabuddhi, you tell them. And I told him the story that, Srila Guru has said to all, it's not that we've done anything, that Krishna's, inspires to the heart, to Guru, and then the Guru, he makes the arrangement and and will come to the devotee somehow or other. And so that's a very important thing, because we think, oh, we did this and we came, but that's not true. If it's a bona fide relationship, then the Guru will come to the devotee. So, but what other characteristics did we get a chance to see of Srila Gurudev? As Bhagavat Maharaj was saying, we also spoke to that Pujari this time, and who was the Pujari in Seva Kunj, and who not only the Pujari in Seva Kunj, but is running the Radharani temple in Seva Kunj. So when we came, he goes, who is your Guru Maharaj? And I said, Srila Prabhupada and my Shiksha from Bhaktivinoda Narayan Maharaj. He says, Prabhupada and Narayan Maharaj. And then he told us the story that Bhagavat Maharaj had actually stabbed. And he said, you are so fortunate. And then he said, come back tomorrow night. And I said to him, tomorrow night? Everything's closed in the evenings. No, we are going to be open. So somehow or other, they were open in Seva Kunj to 8:30. I guess I lucked out, because everyone's not supposed to be there in the evening time. And he gave us, because I think just because my 2 gurus were Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev, he gave us this big Maha plate that I had to carry with 2 hands. And he also gave me the garment that Radharani was wearing. So by the mercy of Srila, just by mentioning Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev to Radharani, there in Radharani's temple, that mercy was given. So you can confirm what Bhagavat Maharaj had already said, that they're the superlative, devotees of Srimati Radhika. So also we had the opportunity of also seeing Srila Gurudev in a Samadhi Bas. One day, I think it was 2001 in San Diego, that he was speaking about Uddhava and Uddhava coming. And when he first spoke, when Uddhava came, then there he saw all gaiety, and the cows were jumping and everyone was happy, and he saw the cowherd boys and the girls. And then in the next minute, then he started speaking about when he went to Nanda Maharaj's place in Yasoda, and how there were cobwebs, and immediately Gurudev's mood became so different. So he experienced that separation and that mood, so much so that it overflowed the devotees that were there in San Diego. At least I could feel it, though I didn't have any, certainly not very advanced or anything. You could feel that whole mood as Gurudev was tearing and tears were coming. Our hearts were choking just in immediate change. Then again, in Coral Springs, where we had our program, we put on two big festivals for Srila Gurudev in South Florida. And then he also came and spent a month with us there also. So 3 different occasions. So in the first occasion, we went on this walk in this park in Coral Springs. And Srila Gurudev was out in front, kind of like doing exercises. And then we were walking back, and I was wearing these Birkenstocks, and I couldn't even make out, but they were dragging just a little bit. And then Gurudev sent, a few feet back, asked for Maharaj. Maharaj came back and said, your shoes are making noise. And so I tightened them up. And then we were talking a little bit, and Gurudev stopped, and he started telling us that what's going on right now in Krishna Lila. He was explaining the whole pastime that he's seeing in his japa. And he said, so when you're doing japa with me on a walk, you should think, oh, what is Krishna doing now? What is my Guru Maharaj is doing now? Not japa, nothing else. You should try to chant very, very nicely. And by some fortune, maybe you will be able to enter into these pastimes as well. So we were amazed on what Gurudev was telling us about the pastime that was going on, that he was seeing and he was part of. And then on another,
I'm sorry, you would have to wrap with this next story, Prabhu, because we are running over time, but please do finish this last story. Haribol.
All right, maybe I'll take the two things at once because it's kind of important. This last one was, we were in Hawaii, and out in the garden, I think it was Vrindavan's house, Vrindavan's place, and Gurudev was there, and I was the only other one there, and he was kind of like picking like weeds or something. So I asked what he was doing, and Gurudev came, said to me, said, come, Srimati Radharani, she wants us to pick flowers, so it's making a garland for Krishna. And so I was kind of taken back, not really knowing what it is. And then I said, oh, at least I picked a flower and gave it, and he came back and he put his hand on my chest afterward and smiled. And then he said, I have already taken your heart and I will not give it back. And then he said, Tesam Satyuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam. So one last thing is that Srila Gurudev, he gave all of my families initiated from him. He gave me Radha Madhavas, all of these, Radha Madhava Shalagram, so many things he did. But one of the last things he told me, and which is important, I think, for everyone, is he was saying, this is the last time we were going to talk. And I know Maharaj and Brajanath, no, don't say that. They were arguing, but he pulled me aside and he said, unless you come to India, and he said, you won't come to India for many, many years. So this will be the last time we talk. He said, what you need to do is study the life of the previous acharyas and study what they did in their life and how they implemented devotional service, and then implement it in your life like I have done in mine. So my dear Srila Gurudev, my heart, the dear friend and wisdom of my Gurudev Srila Prabhupada as well, I offer my pure, heartfelt dandavats unto your feet, that you've taken this lowly, unqualified person who doesn't have any Brahminical qualities and somehow infused them with some devotional aspiration. I am indebted to your mercy and to your devotees' kindness on us, and I pray that somehow that we'll be able to please you in the coming course of our births and sojourn in this material world. Vanchakalpatubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. Jai Jai Sri Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Sripad Mahabuddhi Prabhu, for all of those nuggets and for sharing all of that sort of additional praman for things that have already been spoken. It's always really special, and we're glad you're here, if on borrowed time or not. I mean, maybe we're all on borrowed time, but I thank you so much. And I know that I already heard Grace Syamarani Didi is awaiting to speak, and I'm going to ask her to unmute. And this Vaishnav needs no introduction. However, just very briefly, for those who may not know, Her Grace Syamarani Didi, or also known as Syamarani Didi to some Srila Prabhupada disciples, she is a treasure, has had shiksha from so many Mahabhagavats, and had an early disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and also took shelter of Srila Gurudev, and also has produced and manifested so many of the deities of Srila Gurudev, like Sevakunj and most recently Kunj Kirtan. So without further ado, Syamarani Didi, thank you for joining us. You have 25 minutes, and I can cue you if you'd like. I know you're very good with time. I'm very honored that you're here, and turning over the floor to you. Haribol.
Agyanam timirandasya Gyananjana salakaya Chaksurunilitam hina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namah Yang Pravajantam Manupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Viraka Taruva Juhava Utriti Tanmayataya Taravo Banedu Samsara Bhuta Hridayam Muni Manatosmi Bhaktya Vinay Aparada Lakshay Chiptasya Kamadi Tarangamadi Kripamayi Tvam Sharanam Prapadyam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tavoivasmi Najivami Tambina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayamam Sharanantiti. First, I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Asto to the Sat Shri Sriman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Asto to the Sat Shri Sriman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, Gaur Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to all of his divine associates, and to all the beautiful assembled devotees. First of all, I want to express appreciation for the offerings, the Pushpanjali offerings of Sripad Mahabuddhi Prabhu and Sripad Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Van Goswami Maharaj, for their absolutely stunning offerings. And I just love it when I can sit down and relax, not be at the edge of my seat, sitting next to a speaker and wondering if I have to be an antenna, and I say, oh, Prabhu, but are you sure that's right? You know, when we're in front of a big audience. And I can certainly relax. I have certainly relaxed when I sat before them. So I'm just so grateful for their offerings. So this is on a kind of a little different note. It'll begin in this world and then go to another. That is, of course, even Srila Gurudev in his sadhak form is in another world, and he's just manifesting here. Like the sun is way up in the sky, but it kind of manifests here. So in Houston in 1996, I asked Gurudev very kind of abashedly, can you please tell us what you do all day in the service of Radha and Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan? So he said, I don't want to talk about those things. I want to talk about the Lakus Manjali. So first I was upset because I thought, oh, he's not telling me anything. But then I realized, wait a minute, he's telling me everything. He's telling me what he says in different ways at other times, that the daily activities of Sri Rupa Manjari, Sri Ratan Manjari, Labanga Manjari, Kasturi Manjari are approximately the same activities that Srila Gurudev does daily, morning till night, and throughout the night, with the moments of sleep, and at that time, going to bed after Radha and Krishna, waking up before them, preparing the services. So I thought today, especially since I'm in the middle of editing with a nice GVP team, editing Srila Gurudev's Vallabh Kusumanjali, I thought I'd share some of that today. And then the rest of it, I'll also share tomorrow at our temple, because we're having a program for him starting at 4 p.m. So in the introduction, interesting how Srila Gurudev offers his obeisances to the whole disciplic succession before he's about to give the introduction to Vallabh Kusumanjali. And then he offers obeisances in their sadhak forms and their siddha forms, and offering obeisances to Vallabh Kusumanjali as he taught us how to read any book, putting the book on our head, on our heart. Oh, Prabhu, you're not a book. You are the members who participate in the book. In this case, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srimati Radhika, Krishna, and their associates, primarily Lalita Vishaka and the maidservants. So first he gives the history of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, how he came to Sriman Mahaprabhu, what instructions he got from him, and how he gradually became more and more renounced, to the point in Jagannath Puri of just taking the rejected rice that were in the drains that even the cows wouldn't take, and how Mahaprabhu was encouraging him and in each stage of his increased renunciation. And then what happened when he felt so much separation from Mahaprabhu that he wanted to go to Vrindavan and jump off Govardhan, jump into the Jamuna, but then he met Rupa and Sanatan there, and they saved him from doing that, and also nourished him, especially Srila Rupa Goswami, who gave him everything. And then the second half of the introduction, Srila Gurudev is explaining what is a manjari. He discusses the five kinds of sakis, particularly the manjaris who are pran sakis and nitya sakis. The pran sakis, like Raghunath Das Goswami, being the leaders and more intimate with Srimati Radhika. Then he explains the two processes of Raganuga Bhakti, that is the internal. They have 3 stages, and throughout the entire book, in all the verses, Srila Gurudev again and again discusses the 3 stages in Raganuga Bhakti, one being Antardasa, or internal stage, where, say, Raghunath Das Goswami forgets that he's Raghunath Das Goswami and thinks that he's Rati Manjari, and he's actually in the pastimes. And then in the middle of the pastime, everything disappears, and he finds himself as Raghunath Das Goswami, rolling and weeping and begging for that pastime to come back, or a continuation of the pastime and his participation in it. So that's Antar Bahya Dasha, middle. And then how he comes to external consciousness, where he's still remembering the pastime, but he's very conscious that he's Raghunath Das Goswami, and he can read, he can relate, he can speak. So in the various slokas, which Srila Gurudev said that Raghunath Das Goswami presented to Radharani as a garland of flowers of lamentation. Vilapa means lamentation, and Kushama means flowers. Anjali means a bunch of flower-like lamentation that he's offering at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, and each slok represents a particular bhav, particular mood. So although all the prayers are in the mood of separation, begging to enter into the pastimes and serve in the pastimes, at the same time, each pastime has different moods. So there are 104 flowers that he's offering, or 104 different bhavs. So the first verse, and Srila Gurudev, let's just come back here to where this was spoken. Srila Gurudev was speaking in Vrindavan, in Mathura, and in Bombay at Srila Prabhupada's Juhu Beach temple. And basically he's speaking to my GBC, Sannyasi, ISKCON Guru, God brothers, and a few God sisters as well. So in the first verse, he's giving Raghunath Das Goswami's prayer to Rupa Goswami, his guru, because first we pray to our guru, right? Before anybody else. So he's praying to his, not his guru, Rupa Goswami in this world, but to his Manjari guru in Manjari Rup, Guru Rupa Manjari in the spiritual world. Shri Rupa Manjari Sakhi Pratita Paresmin. I don't want to spend the whole time singing. So he's saying, oh, Rupa Manjari, you are well known as the most famous in this Braj for your chastity. So isn't it strange that even though your husband has been gone for about 3, 4, 5 days in buying cows, very good cows, still you have this mark on your lip, looking like some big parrot has bitten your lip. Is this, has some big parrot bitten your lip? And of course, that parrot is Krishna. So then there's a whole discussion, of how is it that the Manjaris are, I don't know what's going on my computer screen. The whole description of how the Manjaris are Kamatmika Bhakti, and at the same time, they don't have any direct relationship with Krishna. Even if he wants to, even if he'll grab them, they show their disinterest, because they'll say to him, why, Krishna, should I give you a lesser pleasure when I can give you a greater pleasure? I'm the maidservant of my Swamini, Srimati Radhika, and my greatest pleasure and your greatest pleasure is when I arrange meetings with the two of you. So I'm not going to give you or me that lesser pleasure. So what does it mean that Rupa Manjari got a bite on her lip? So because Rupa Manjari had been watching, they watched the pastimes, the Manjaris watched the pastimes of Radha and Krishna through the lattice creepers, lattice-like creepers of the Kunj. And whatever happens on Radharani's body and mind also happens on the body of the Manjaris. So when Raghunath Das Goswami was uttering this prayer, he suddenly entered into Antardasa and was right there with Rupa Manjari asking this question. So then Rupa Manjari began to weep and said, yes, Krishna has done it, and embraced Rati Manjari. Then all of a sudden, everything disappeared, and Raghunath Das Goswami is weeping and rolling, and then praying that, oh, land lotus, Srimati Radhika, you're just like a bunch of land lotus flowers, like a big bunch, and you're laughing through your creepers. Why? Because the bee, first Krishna is compared to a parrot, and then now he's compared to a bee. So because that bee, Krishna, has passed through all the other fragrant, beautiful flowers, and he's made a beeline directly to you. So then Srila Gurudev explains how this confirms that first you pray to your guru, and then you pray to your Istadevi, and that's Srimati Radhika. This is confirming that the mark that Rupa Manjari got on her lip came vicariously when Srimati Radhika got that. And then in the third, again, he comes out. In between each verse, he's coming out and weeping and rolling, and he's just about to die when Radharani gives mercy and allows him to enter into Antardasa again. So in this third verse, and I think all of you are familiar with with the Kunj Kirtan painting. So the Kunj Kirtan painting is a painting that Gurudev had me start on a year before his disappearance. And he gave, every verse has an elaborate purport given in the form of a darshan to my God brothers and God sisters. So for this particular third verse, Srila Gurudev is saying that, oh, Rati Manjari. Now this is strange because Raghunath Das Goswami himself is uttering this verse. And why is he saying, oh, Rati Manjari, who's himself in his Manjari form? So just like Srila Gurudev is Raman Manjari. So the things are going on simultaneously of him being Raman Manjari, Srila Gurudev, in the spiritual world, and at the same time manifesting here. So just like Uddhav, when he was speaking to Vidura, he was there in Goloka Vrindavan, and he was there in India with Vidura, telling him about the pastimes with Krishna. So we have a lot of events going on simultaneously. So Srila Gurudev is there in Vrindavan, in Mathura, in Bombay, speaking with my God siblings. At the same time, he's in Goloka Vrindavan, serving, making garlands, waking up Radharani, dressing her, bathing her. We'll get there as we go to the next verses. And at the same time, living in the heart of Raghunath Das Goswami, who's praying of all people to Rati Manjari. Oh, Rati Manjari, you are the most fortunate girl in Vrindavan. Why? In this village of Vrindavan. Why? Because it was you who Radharani requested to get her Pranaya Mekhala, her golden waist belt that Krishna loves so much. And he loves to, because it's a link to his pastimes with you. And so you are the one who was sent to get them, to get this Mekhala from the Kunj and tie it on Srimati Radhika very stealthily so that no one else would know what happens. Why was it stealthily? Because Krishna was in the Kunj and with Radharani, she decided, oh, I have to organize a Sankirtan party. So she left him there with 2 manjaris and went to organize the party. And then Krishna got lonely, he came out, the gopis sat him at Radharani's lotus feet. Everybody started dancing and singing, glorifying the divine couple. And then Radharani realized that she got tired. So she sat down and realized that her golden Mekhala was missing. So with her eyes, the eyes of Radharani are too amazing. And they're brought up in various subsequent verses in the Palabkas Manjari. But in this verse, with her eyes, which they speak books to each other, just with their eyes. So with her eyes, she was telling Rati Manjari that if my Sakis see that I'm missing my golden Pranaya, love waist belt that Krishna loves so much and he loves to untie, then all my Sakis will laugh at me. Oh, I know how you lost your waist belt. So please go and run and get it in the Kunj and bring it back and put it on me in such a way that nobody else can see. And so Raghunath Das, Rati Manjari stood up and told a lie that to hear lying is abominable. Nobody likes to work with a liar. I'll never trust that guy again. Don't even bring up his name. But this, because in this world, it's everything is a perverted reflection of that world. So lying is glorious in that world. So Rati Manjari stood up and she said, I'm just going to pick some flowers. I'll be right back. And then she went and got the Mekhala and brought it back. And in the painting, you can see that she's very stealthily tying the Mekhala, and only Rupa Manjari, who knows how to read all of Radharani's glances, only she knows what's happening. Everybody else is just singing and dancing. So why did Srila Gurudev is asking, why did Raghunath Das Goswami say, oh, Rati Manjari? She's talking to her alter ego. So actually, this is a verse, though it's in Vilapakus Manjali, this is a verse that's actually not written by Raghunath Das Goswami, but it's written by Rupa Goswami. And what he's trying to say by this verse is that, oh, Raghunath Das, you should write, and whatever you write, that will be perfect. So this verse is a blessing. Just like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita put in a verse by Rupa Goswami as though it was his own verse, Anarpita Chiring Chirak, Kalo, as our speakers previously mentioned. So similarly, Rupa Goswami is giving this verse as a blessing, which also is telling Raghunath Das Goswami, glorifying Raghunath Das Goswami and Rati Manjari as our saviors, and the topmost Rupanuga Acharya, Raghunath Das Goswami, without whom we cannot understand Rupa Goswami. So let's jump then to the fourth verse, which now in the three previous verses, he was in, it's called Swarup Avesh, or absorption in his Swarup as Rati Manjari. I don't know how much time I have left, or if I have any time left. And if I'm supposed to stop now, then I'll continue tomorrow. How much time do I have left?
Sorry, Didi, you have 6.5 minutes.
Okay. So then now these next three verses, numbers 4, 5, and 6, Raghunath Das Goswami is in external consciousness and his sadhaka vesh, his absorption as Raghunath Das Goswami. First, offering his obeisances to his Diksha Guru, and that is Yadunandan Acharya, who enabled him to sneak out from the grip, the chains of his parents' house, and finally get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, and then finally get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar, and then ultimately Sanatana Goswami, and ultimately Rupa Goswami. So, and there, Srila Gurudev all of a sudden talks about how to make an offering to the deities, because he's talking about how you don't offer bhoga to the Diksha Guru. You offer him prashadam, and then how do you make the offering? You say the mantras, but you're meditating that Sri Guru is there, and he's actually making the offering because he can go to Goloka Vrindavan. So many purposes, so many sections to each verse. And then in the fifth verse, he's offering obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who pulled him out of the waterless well of material household life and offered him at the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his commentary to this verse, Srila Gurudev quoted one very interesting Sanskrit kirtan by Narahari Chakravarti, which is called Sachinandan Astakam, where the author offers his obeisances to Sachinandan Gohari, who's not actually Sachinandan Gohari, but actually who's Krishna, the major debauchee and cheater. Gurudev said that Krishna cheated some, but Mahaprabhu is cheating everybody because he's appearing as a renounced sannyasi, but actually he's that debauchee Krishna. And although he's wearing the saffron cloth of renunciation, what is that saffron cloth? It's the kumkum from the breasts of the gopis who Krishna embraced, and then by that tight embrace became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest sannyasi. So not only Mahaprabhu's garments, but also his very complexion is the combination of the embrace, the tight embrace of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Then in verse 6, back in verse 5, he's saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Tadatma. He's Krishna who's Tadatma, merged into the heart of Srimati Radhika. And so Raghunath Das Goswami is becoming Tadatma with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Tadatma with Radharani, and in Balabhus Manjali, he's directly becoming Tadatma with the heart of Srimati Radhika, without which there's no question of service. Now, from the 7th verse on, we go back to Swarupa Vesh, where Raghunath Das Goswami is weeping for the services of Srimati Radhika. And just like Krishna was the parrot, Krishna was the bee, now we have different pictures that are created. We already had the blind well of household life in the 5th chapter, the shackles of household life in the verse, the 4th verse. The 6th verse was to Sanatana Goswami, how he forced him to renounce material life. Although I was unwilling to do so, Sanatana Goswami forced me, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances to him. Then in the 7th verse, he prays again to Srimati Radhika, and all the rest of the verses are to Srimati Radhika for various kinds of services. Now going back to Houston, the various kinds of services that Srila Gurudev performs daily. So in the 7th verse, he says, I'm burning in the fire of separation from you. Please relieve this affliction by putting your glance upon me. In that verse, in the purport, Srila Gurudev explains that without feelings of separation from Guru, there's no question of bhajan, there's no questions of feeling separation from Srimati Radhika. And Gurudev began speaking about Tirubhavs and Abhirbhavs. Today is Srila Gurudev's Abhirbhav Titi. So he said, on such a day, when it's the time to weep, we get so wrapped up in our Mahotsava and making preparations of food preparation and honoring the guests and kirtans, that we forget what the titis are all about. They're all about weeping. Without being able to weep for Guru, one cannot weep for Srimati Radhika, without which there's no question of bhajan, without which there's no question of perfection. He said, even when you're giving a class, maybe a tear can come and maybe it won't. He said the real meaning of glorifying the Guru on his Abhirbhav Titi is that the weeping will come. You must take out time for weeping. I once told Srila Gurudev, just a little off topic, in Mathura, that, Gurudev, I'm so busy with your various services, I'm doing so many services for you, that even though I chant the number of rounds, which I wasn't at the time chanting 64 rounds, but they're kind of all over the place. My mind is all over the place. Yeah, I thought he was going to say, that doesn't matter. You're doing so many services for me, so I'm going to give you the taste and one day you'll weep. No, what he said was, he pointed to his beads, showing me that he was on his way to his 64th bead. Then he pointed to his editing, his Hindi editing of his books, and he said, showing what he does all day externally. And he said, no, you must take out time to chant and to weep. So showing how, and I asked him once, can I go back to Godhead in this life? And he said, oh yes, if you're just like Raghunath Das Goswami, no time to look in the mirror, wife is beautiful as Miss Universe, no time to look at her. So we just were in the fire. Now in the 8th verse, we go to the ocean. Raghunath Das Goswami is praying to Srimati Radhika. Now I'm in an ocean of sorrow. Please lift me out of this ocean by the boat of your mercy and bring me to the wonderful abode of your lotus feet. So here, what does that mean, lotus feet? It doesn't just mean meditating on feet. Like here is an opportunity to meditate on Krishna's feet. It's not like that. In every single verse, he's asking for specific services. Like, for example, Krishna is so overwhelmed with gratitude by Radharani's mood of love. Like she offers with her love, she offers arti, not to Krishna, but to his lotus feet. Not to his lotus feet, but to the tips of his lotus feet. Not to the tips of his lotus feet, the nails of his lotus feet, but to the effulgence coming from his lotus feet with her life millions of times over. Krishna is so touched by that he's thinking, there's no way I can repay her, but I must repay her. So in the morning during the Shantalila, he found that opportunity. And she said, look, you messed up everything. My hair is in disarray, my garment is in disarray, so please fix it. This was the opportunity that Krishna was looking for. And so He said, you messed up my footlack, fix it up. This was the opportunity Krishna wanted to have to repay, even though he knew he couldn't, Radharani, for her love. So I think most of you know how Srila Gurudev talked about this so many times, how Srila Krishna took the brush. Sometimes it's a brush made out of the end of the peacock feather. Sometimes it's made of a stick with soft cotton at the end of it. And so he wanted to write his name at the bottom and tops of Radharani's feet. But what happened was he started trembling. And because his heart was trembling, his hands started trembling. And so when he wrote Krishna, because he was thinking that here's the highest embodiment of Mahabhav, Madanakya Mahabhav, and I want to put myself there. So if I put my name there, then I'll also be there. So he started writing Krishna, K-R, K-R, Sh, but then his hands were quivering. And so Gurudev told me when I was painting this, that you can imagine what kind of art this is, that Krishna is writing his own name, trembling in love, what kind of art his name is going to be on his feet. But he wasn't doing very good. So Radharani said to him, oh, Baal painter, oh, child painter, oh, neophyte painter, you don't know how to paint. And then she motioned with her eyes to Rati Manjari that you do it, show him how to do it. So Rati Manjari took the brush from Krishna's hand, and he became full of anxiety. You're taking away from my service. I'm going to stop in a minute. This is the last of the, although this is just the beginning of all the daily services. So, so Krishna was very upset, and Rati Manjari was laughing that Krishna wasn't able to paint anymore. And so Radharani said, why are you laughing? Just paint. So then she started painting Radharani's name. And then all of a sudden, and then Radharani kicked her. That don't laugh. And so she kicked her on the head or on the shoulders or on the arm. In different verses, it's going to be different places. And then Rati Manjari got so excited. In one verse, she got so excited she wanted to look in the mirror, because now she's thinking, I'm a Chapmara servant of the government, a stamped servant of the government. The government is Srimati Radhika. In another verse, in this particular verse, she was painting, and then all of a sudden, the Radharani's foot disappeared, her Radharani disappeared, Krishna disappeared, the scene disappeared. In that other verse that I mentioned about being kicked and looking in the mirror disappeared, and Rati Manjari found herself being Raghunath Das Goswami, rolling and weeping on the banks of Radhakund. So I know my time is going to be up in 1 minute, so I just want to go back to today.
It was up like a minute ago, Didi.
Appearance Day, and on one Vyasa Puja day, he said, this is my Vyasa Puja day. My Vyasa Puja day. What does it mean that it's my Vyasa Puja day? It means that it's my day to take all of you to worship Srila Vyasadeva and the whole Guru Parampara. And I'll end here. Thank you very much. And Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Panchakopatrubhyascha Kripasinubhyevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hari Bol, Didi. You know, it's our misfortune that we have to stop any of these speakers because the flow of nectar is intense and amazing. What you were speaking on, Srimati, Syamarani, Didi, was like really amazing confidential pastimes and nuances that many of us have not heard, or maybe just me, but I really appreciated to hear. And especially that one where you were quoting about Narahari Prabhu and the point of view on Sachinandana Gaurahari, that was quite amazing. And looking so forward to this official version of Sri Vilap's Kusmanjali to come out. Also was really sweet how you asked Srila Gurudev, oh, tell me what you're doing. And instead he points to Rati Manjari, Raghunatha Das Goswami's like Vilap's Kusmanjali to say, here we are. So
In a
quite amazing. Sorry, Didi, were you going to say something?
So I just said, here we are in a nutshell of
Yeah,
what Gurudev
exactly,
does.
exactly. And thank you for painting Kunj Kirtan, which, you know, if we can't do more, some people don't have the attention span to read the books or the Adhikar, I'm not sure, but can look at your amazing painting, and a picture speaks 1,000 words anyway. So the infinite transcendental narrative that is the Nitya Leela pastimes of Sri Radhakrishna. I thank you from my heart. I know all of us do, for giving us these windows into the spiritual world.
And then your heart connects with Gurudev's heart, because he said, these are my heart, these paintings. And he began me painting by saying, can you paint my heart? Save the Kunj.
Die. And as Srimati Yasasvini Didi was saying, our two ears together make a heart. That heart is with the ear is within the heart, and hearing is within the heart as well. I'm adding this, and you know, that's the first limb of bhakti. So thank you so much for bringing it full circle, Didi. I'm going to move on because I know we're very behind. Yashodanandan's going to kick me in the head. It won't be as beneficial as what Rati Manjari might have received if I don't get us on track. So I'm going to look for Srimati Jagatam Didi to see.
I've never thought of kicking you in the head, Didi. That's quite that's quite intense. And you are safe at 8,000 miles, so you're okay.
Yes, I hope so. I'm just grateful for this seva. So I'll take what comes with it. Looking for Srimati Jagatam Didi.
She's there looking beautiful as usual.
So many devotees on. I have to scroll.
I always love Jagatam's hats.
There she is. Haribol Didi. Thank you so much for joining us. This again is another, we're so blessed with all these senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada who have also taken Shiksha of Srila Gurudev to come and share their incredible, the fruit of their association with us. I know she's dedicated her life to growing bhakti and supporting the younger generation like me to grow. I'm so grateful to see you again, Srimati Jagatam Didi, and you have 25 minutes as well. Please, the floor is yours.
Didi, before we start, I just want to say something. Jagatam Didi, thank you so much for coming. And I know you're nervous, and please, even if you only speak a minute, it's fine. Whether you speak a minute or 25, it's all yours, please. We are your family, okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's, I kind of tell myself I'm doing a service if I speak less time. At least it might be a service because we're all running overtime. Anyway, Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayani Tinamine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. This is such an amazing forum. You welcomed me as Prabhupada disciple, and I often get honored by being given that title. But in this assembly, I feel very much like an insect among great personalities. That's why I do feel quite shy about speaking. But I've just written a few notes. The first thing that came to me when I heard about this Bhakti Zoom was something that Mula Prakriti, my elder god sister, told me about. It was the conversation that Srila Prabhupada had with Srila Gurudev about 2 weeks before he left this world, before Srila Prabhupada left. And that conversation was when Srila Prabhupada asked Srila Narayan Maharaj, please, you look after my devotees. And And Srila Narayan Maharaj said, "Don't worry, Swamiji, they will be fine. You've looked after them, you have trained them so nicely." And Srila Prabhupada again said, "But they need help, you please look after them." And again, Srila Narayan Maharaj said, "Don't worry, they will be fine." And then Srila Prabhupada said, "I have caught so many monkeys in my net, so you please look after them." So then Gurudev said, "Okay, then I will surely, if they come to me, I will surely help them." So I've always remembered that, and especially because Mula Prakriti had 6 devotees translate that conversation, 3 Bengali devotees and 3 English-speaking devotees, so that she knew exactly what was being spoken. So yeah, so when I imagine speaking on this exalted forum, I think the main thing that always comes to mind is the immense compassion that our Guru Varga has. Every single one of our gurus are obviously representatives of Srimati Karunamayi, Srimati Radhika, because their hearts are so full of compassion that there's no condition for their compassion. They come for the most fallen. Srila Prabhupada, I remember in the early days, he used to say that Lord Chaitanya has come for the most fallen, just to make sure that none of us were puffed up. Even though he would also say at other times, that Krishna has placed all of you all around the planet, and so that this movement will be spread. But at the same time, for us to understand that we are products only of the mercy of our Gurudevs. And I see in my own life that my journey is a product of this causeless mercy. When Prabhupada used to say that also, he said, "I am your causeless mercy." But it doesn't stop there. From what Prabhupada said, it hasn't stopped, and it will not stop, because we have already been picked up and put into this divine line of our Guru Varga, of these most compassionate personalities. These are all Kripa Siddhas. And many years ago, when I was serving in the Soho Street Temple in the London Temple, my temple president said to me once, he said, "You are a mercy case." So, okay, I didn't really think about that too much. I didn't quite understand it, but now I understand it completely. And that phrase comes back over and over, that I am totally a mercy case. And I think we all feel like that we are all mercy cases and Kripa Siddhas, Kripa dependence. So I was thinking how we've all been pegged, and we've all been picked up and connected to the parampara, and we can't even think of escaping. We're already attached, we're already connected. And that is, again, that is by the mercy of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. And one thing I remember that my Shiksha Guru in Vrindavan said, he said that Krishna, you know the verse, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutopi. By the mercy of Krishna, one receives Guru. By the mercy of Guru, one receives Krishna. So my Shiksha Guru, Srila Sadhu Maharaj, was saying that Krishna brings you to Guru, and Guru brings you to Vrindavan, and Vrindavan brings you to Srimati Radhika. And so that was one very big thing that I learned from Srila Gurudev that I didn't understand before. My whole life, since meeting Srila Prabhupada back in '75, was centered around my Gokulananda, my Krishna. In fact, I couldn't even see Radharani. I would only stand in front of the deities and I could only see Krishna, and I only understood Krishna. And then my story was something similar. It was, somebody else was mentioning how, maybe it was Yasasvini Didi, how they were crying, after Srila Prabhupada left. And I was in that situation also, where for about 3 months without stop, without any break, I was constantly crying, and just praying to Prabhupada, please send me someone to help me. Please send me someone to help me. And I was saying it over and over again. That's all I could think of saying. And yeah, and that's when Gurudev came into my life. I remember calling Yasasvini and telling her, oh my God, I've got this lust and this massive anartha, and it's so huge. And at that time, she had already just had darshan of Srila Gurudev, and she said that she had heard that if there's a pure devotee on the planet, if you sit down and meditate on that pure devotee and you pray to that pure devotee, he can pull any anartha out of your heart. So that's exactly what I did. I had never met Srila Gurudev, but maybe I'd seen a picture, and I just sat down and in very deep meditation, and I just prayed, please take this lust out of my heart. And wow, he did it in such an amazing and miraculous way, where I actually saw the personification of my lust come out of my body and look at me like a little elf and just laugh his head off. Oh, you want to get rid of me now? And I said, yes. So that was quite an amazing experience. That was my first experience of Gurudev before meeting him. That was my Purva Rag of Gurudev. And just a couple of other remembrances that I have. One time being with Srila Gurudev, I believe it was in Jagannath Puri, and this is an example of the all-knowing aspect of Shri Guru. Gurudev was standing in a crowd of devotees, and there must have been maybe at least 5 rows of devotees standing around him, and I was standing back behind all those rows of devotees. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh, I wish Gurudev, I wish you would look at me. I was just thinking like that. And then all of a sudden, even though there's all these devotees around Gurudev, Gurudev swings his head around really fast. He looks directly at me. And I just, felt that deep glance of his. And also I remember being in Mathura, where we would go from Vrindavan in our, what are those, motor rickshaw to Mathura, and we would go and listen to Srila Gurudev's lectures. And I didn't really understand too much, but I just remember standing by one pillar. Most every devotee was sitting down, and I just remember Gurudev speaking, but every once in a while looking directly at me, and I just felt that, and I felt like I was getting some undeserved mercy, but that mercy was definitely coming and was very, very strong. And another time, it was in Navadvip, and at that time I was more familiar with Srila Gurudev and with his teachings. And Srila Gurudev was in his quarters, which was just down the road from where most of the devotees were staying. And I went into the building and I wanted to give a donation to Srila Gurudev. And so Madhav Maharaj let me into Gurudev's room, his bedroom, and he was lying down in his bed. And so I went in, and Gurudev told me to come closer. So I went closer, and I was just kneeling down by his bed. And I said, Gurudev, I want to be more close to you. and he said, "Oh, you are so close." So it's just another example of Gurudev's humor and love. And yeah, I think that's all that I can remember. I just want to thank Yashodanandan and all the beautiful members of this Bhakti Zoom team for creating this amazing experience, this Bhakti Zoom experience, and for engaging us. And like I said, I'm just an insect in the midst of all of the great devotees, but feeling very fortunate and honored to be with you all. So, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai.
Jai Jagatam, Srimati Jagatam Didi. Those are such precious and beautiful memories and pastimes. And it's amazing, like when you were sharing about how you'd had this thought in your heart, oh, I wish Srila Gurudev would look at me. And then right then he would turn. I've heard other devotees share some similar experiences. It's quite amazing. And it also lets us know that he can hear us even now. You know, I know myself coming to Bhakti so late in 2018, really, I was praying to Srila Gurudev, and I heard a speaker earlier say, oh yeah, when you're ready, the Acharya will find you. And I was looking in my journal and I realized my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, came all the way to Long Beach, California, when I barely knew, like, could even say the names of anyone. And he was the first sadhu whose name I wrote. I thought that I had met him in Badger, but honestly, I saw a picture I had taken of that program, and I was shocked to see that he had come all the way to where I live to make a connection, even though it was a month later before I really registered anything. But it's quite amazing what we have stumbled upon. And someone earlier said that, I mean, you're so blessed to have had the direct darshan and association of these Mahabhagavats who are direct associates of Srimati Radhika. And it's so auspicious, and it's so auspicious for us to get to hear from you about these pastimes. So thank you so much. Hopefully you will come on again. And also thank you, Didi, for speaking a little bit shorter, because maybe I can make up a little time now. I'm going to look for Srimati Jamuna Didi, who I know is under another name on this Bhakti Zoom. Let me see. Didi, if you can turn your camera. I know it's Ananga Mohan Prabhu. I don't know, Yashodanandan, if anyone sees this yet. Oh, there you are. Haribol, Didi. Dandavat. Thank you so much for joining us. Srimati Jamuna Didi is a disciple of Srila Gurudev, and along with her husband Ananga Mohan Prabhu, has been traveling with Sripad Bhaktivedanta Vana Maharaj when the opportunity arises, and preaching, especially around Brighton, UK. I haven't been to Brighton in eons, but it's lovely for you to join us. Thank you so much. Do you want me to let you know if I could hear you okay? Do you using a different mic? Let me see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Didi?
Yeah, so it's a little
Because I have to use
quiet.
an external mic, so I won't be able to hear any of you.
Okay, can you turn it up just
on this online Bhakti Zoom glorification of our dear most Srila Gurudev. Om Magyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chakshon Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gora Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Vana Itina Mine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayanithi Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Sigora Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. First of all, I would like to offer my unlimited obeisances at the lotus feet of my Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vana Goswami Maharaj, as well as at the same unlimited obeisances at the lotus feet of my Diksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and at the lotus feet of our dear most Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and to all Rupanuga Guru Varga, to all the senior Vaishnav and the Vaishnavi, to all my God brothers and sisters. And thank you so much again to Yashodanandan Prabhu and to all his team for giving us this very beautiful opportunity to be connected to our Srila Gurudev through this online glorification, so that all of us from all over the world can be connected in the same spirit, very loving and affectionate exchange about the glories of our Srila Gurudev. So thank you so much. When I first received the invitation to be part of this event, my little girl heart was all overjoyed and excited. But then when I saw the panel, I became blame, and I was like, oh, how could I speak in such an assembly? And very pale. So I heard just before me my dear most very senior God sister, Jagatam Didi, saying that she didn't feel, she felt uncomfortable in this assembly. So what to say of me? But I remember also that this has always been the case since the first time that I first met Srila Gurudev. As in 2001, I met Srila Bhaktivedanta Vana Goswami Maharaj, and by hearing his wonderful Harikatha, he took me at the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, the same year. But I remember being sitting in this assembly of very senior Vaishnava, very qualified Vaishnava, and I was basically this person coming from the streets and being in this very exalted assembly. And I understood, of course, later on that Srila Gurudev came specially to give his mercy to this very senior devotee, to disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And I was just this newcomer who, for some unknown reason, if it is just to understand that it is the unconditional love and mercy of the pure devotee, and giving from his heart without discrimination to whoever comes close to him. So I think this situation has been since the beginning, and I am very unqualified and very low person, so I have no qualification to say anything. But I remember also that Srila Gurudev was always expressing that he was only repeating the words of Gurudev and of his own Guru Parampara, and he was saying, if I had any success in my preaching, it's because I have always repeated only what I have heard from my Gurudev, and it's only due to his mercy. So it is described in the same way that how can we worship the Ganges? Only by taking the water of the Ganges, we can worship the Ganges itself. So in this way, I have chosen today to share something that have really deeply touched my heart from an offering of Srila Gurudev, a Puspanjali that he has offered at the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And I will try to share this Puspanjali with you. And I hope that you will accept this offering. So it's a very heart-touching message. It's in a nutshell, really expressing so much of Gurudev's mood, very close relationship to Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, his unlimited transcendental love and affection, compassion, and very great humility. So in this offering to Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Gurudev said, sometimes it sounds to some that I am speaking certain things that Srila Swami Maharaj has never said. And we are familiar with that. We have heard this quite often. But he gave a very beautiful analogy when he said, when a seed is planted, it will naturally grow into a tree with branches. Are these branches not included in the original seed? Are they coming from somewhere else? Because it is a tree, all its parts will naturally manifest. They are all hidden within the seed. Srila Swami Maharaj has written everything in his books. I am not saying anything new. Everything that I speak is coming directly and exclusively from the authentic literatures of our Acharya. I also try to give examples from Srila Swami Maharaj's own purport in his own words. So his tree will certainly grow. New leaf will come, and that same tree will give more and more shade. As we water that tree, so many beautiful flowers and fruit will come. That is sure. That watering process is hearing, chanting, and remembering Harikatha. So we understand also from this offering of Srila Gurudev that he has so much giving emphasis as well to the importance of Sadhu Sangha, that we have to hear from that living Guru who has fully realized the import of the scriptures and who is able to give this that beautiful mood, this mood of Raj. And that is very important as well, because Gurudev has given this clear definition. I won't go in all verses because I try to make it shorter, but Gurudev has also explained that it's so important to know what is the goal. And I heard from the disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada that I had a great chance to meet first in south of France. And there were giving those different emphases that for them it was so important to hear that Gurudev was giving all those precision that was very important for them to progress on their spiritual journey. He was explaining how to be able to call our practice sadhan. It is so important to practice with the aim and object of attaining Bhav Bhakti, and not any ordinary Bhav Bhakti, but this Bhav Bhakti that is infused with one drop of the mood of Raj. So this was some very important precision that Srila Gurudev gave. And then further, he's saying that Param Pujyapad Srila Swami Maharaj has planted many seeds of Bhakti. Some seeds are sprouting, some are growing, and some have leaves, 2 leaf, 4 leaf, 6 leaf, and more. But there are also so many seeds that are drying up. Many devotees have lost their strength and their faith. Some sannyas are leaving sannyas, and many sincere devotees are feeling disconnected and disheartened. These creepers, which Srila Swami Maharaj has planted, need water to be sprinkled upon them. And this is also that we have heard many times how the disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada felt so disheartened after he had disappeared from their external vision, and they felt so much that they need their seed of Bhakti to be nourished. And our Srila Gurudev have giving so many lectures, so many explanations about such important books as Madhurya Kadambini from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, with all this process of Bhakti very explained in very much detail from the initial Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhav, and Prem. And when he speaks here about even in the first part, that ultimately this beautiful tree will bear flowers and fruit, these are the stage of Bhav Bhakti and Prem Bhakti. And Srila Gurudev said further that one Vaishnav can never be exactly the same as another. Even though that we hear so many times about Akhanda Guru Tattva, the undivided principle of Sri Guru, but still each spiritual master has his own individual personality, even if they are one in Tattva and one with the same goal, but there will be some speciality, we can say. All details of expression cannot be identically the same. There must be some difference. And he said, Shri Nityananda Prabhu and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are not exactly the same. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami are in the same line, but are not completely the same. The leaves of any tree, like a mango tree, are not all the same. There must be some difference. So we are also in the family of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore we are included in the same tree. It cannot be said that there is any real difference between us, since we are in the same bona fide disciplic tree. And this reminds me of one of my interactions with Srila Gurudev when I was writing to him about some difficulties in my life. And then he replied by saying that I should always seek the association of those Vaishnavas that are more advanced than me, that are exactly nourishing the same goal that has been given by our Rupanuga Guru Varga. And if they are very kind, loving, and affectionate, he said you will realize that all obstacles in your life will become insignificant. And this has been such a powerful and important blessing in my life. And I can see that since I first, and even before I met Srila Gurudev, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I felt the blessing of this sadhu sangha in my life and on my journey, even though that I'm completely unqualified for this very exceptional gift in my life. And then Gurudev said further, I was never interested in collecting many flowers, and I didn't want to initiate many disciples. For a long time, I have been active as a Shiksha Guru for the devotees in the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. And just yesterday, we were glorifying Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, and we were remembering how those three pillars of the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj was the Acharya, and Srila Bhakti Vedanta Trivikram Maharaj was having such an important role because he had taken the vow to not take any disciples. So he was always very strong and bold in re-establishing the foundation, which was giving the support for Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj to give his mercy in form of giving initiation, and for Srila Gurudev at that time to nourish those disciples by introducing them very strongly and very beautifully towards the goal, this goal of Radha Dasyam. And Gurudev says also here, I didn't want to initiate many disciples, but at the time he received also this instruction even from Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj himself. You have to go now to the west and you have to preach, you have to continue this beautiful mission. So Gurudev said then, no, I have accepted Western Diksha disciple, but my original intention was to help everyone to become strong by Shiksha. That role that he had taken in the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti for so many years under the guidance of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj. And as he was saying, once my Gurudev has departed from our external vision, I felt so much that Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj was that representative of my Gurudev. He was the one who welcomed me at the mat and who taught me everything that I needed to know to serve my Gurudev. So Gurudev said then further, I want the devotees to benefit from the Shiksha of all bona fide Vaishnavas. I want them to advance more and more in Krishna consciousness. I have love and affection for each other and for all other Vaishnavas. I want to see Srila Swami Maharaj movement become healthy and strong. This was his desire from the core of his heart, to fulfill this promise and this instruction that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj has given him to help all of his disciples. And he said Srila Sridhar Maharaj tried to help in the same way, because he was also requested by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. In this way, he shows another very beautiful example. He completely acknowledges God, brothers and sisters, and he doesn't try to take any position. He never called the devotees or tried to cause any disturbance. Many were attracted and came, and they wanted to hear Harikatha, and he was distributing this Harikatha. Other Vaishnavas are also doing this. We are speaking Harikatha here, and thus so many devotees are thirsty to receive help. The concept and siddhanta of Shiksha, Guru and Guru Tattva is not yet widely understood and accepted. Then he makes this very important point. He said the Shiksha Guru does not compete with the Diksha Guru. He assists the devotee in strengthening their relationship with their Diksha Guru. And this is very important. This is something that has been taught to us by our Gurudev, that the symptom of a bona fide Diksha Guru is somebody who takes you closer to your Diksha Guru. He never tries to take this position, or will not come to you saying, oh, your Gurudev, my Gurudev is the same. We are all the same. We have to be very careful and understand also that especially for new initiated disciples, it is very important to develop their relationship with their Diksha Guru. Some Guru Nishtas to develop there, and some Mamata, some possessiveness. And unless the Diksha Guru gives directly the instruction or the disciple asks permission from his Gurudev, we have also to understand all those important distinctions. And in understanding and carrying out the Diksha Guru's conclusion, that's a very important point we have heard this morning from Sripad Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj. He was making this point. how nowadays there may be some doubts about the teachings, even that Gurudev have given on this very important point of the Svarupa of the Jiva. And he was making this point saying that we should try to understand the conclusion of the Acharya through the eyes of our Gurudev and not the opposite, not trying with our own effort to reconcile the different conclusion of the Acharya, because otherwise we may easily get deviated. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Vana Goswami Maharaj often made this point as well about the Svarupa of the Jiva through this very important verse, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunoi Shanavadi Shuddha Chitte Karai Udoy, which means that Krishna Prem is a potential which eternally exists in the heart of the living entity. It means in the seed, in the heart of the living entity, is eternal spiritual form is there, but in a dormant stage. It is not brought about by sadhana. It manifests itself by the mercy of a Nitya Siddha Guru in the heart purified by sadhana. So the performance of the various limbs of bhakti, such as Shravan and Kirtan. So these are very important points that we can stay close to the teachings of our Gurudev. And that's why it is so important to take the shiksha of those who have been close to Srila Gurudev for so many years, who have heard directly from him. Otherwise, where will we get this Guru Nishta from? From those who have this Guru Nishta in their heart, through their talk, to their presentation, and through their every actions. We can see that they are so close to their Gurudev. So, and Gurudev said as well, I am bound to serve Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj in these ways, because he's not only my Shiksha Guru, but he's also my bosom friend. They had such a close, such a beautiful relationship. Srila Swami Maharaj ordered me to help his devotees. If I'm obeying him, he was saying, then I may be disobeying others, those who didn't want him to do that. In any case, even if the whole world is on one side opposing me, I will be on the other side trying to obey him. And that's a very important point. If we try to please everyone, we won't please anyone at the end of the day. The most important is always to please our Gurudev and our Guru Varga. I only want to teach what is pure bhakti in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami and all our acharya done to Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. And we have heard during those different glorification as well how Gurudev was saying that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, it took him 38 years, I think, to be able to fulfill the order of his Gurudev. And our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Nayan Goswami Maharaj, said it took me 20 years to be able to fulfill this order of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to help his disciple and to go to preach as well in the Western country, even though that Srila Gurudev have been helping the disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj from the early days. And he has always made himself so available. And I remember traveling with Srila Gurudev in Siliguri, and we were going from door to door distributing books and invitation to his programs. And we knocked at the door of an ISKCON devotee. He was a very active preacher. And he was very surprised, but very pleased to see us at his door. And he was so pleased that he came with us to Sri Srila Gurudev straight away. And then he opened his heart to Srila Gurudev, and he was saying, you see, for many years I have been preaching so actively in ISKCON that nowadays I feel completely disheartened, because even though I am preaching to so many people, but I'm thinking, to whom will I bring them? To whom can I bring them? And then Srila Gurudev also opened his heart and he said, you see, I have always welcomed, my door is open to everyone. I have always welcomed everyone from what institution they have come, and especially Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they are like my children. But he was saying, nowadays they are making so many obstacles in my preaching and in my trying to serve the very instruction of Srila Prabhupada. But he said, whatever the situation, my door will always be open. And he was showing it directly by welcoming this ISKCON devotee that was very sincerely coming to open his heart to Srila Gurudev. And then he expressed also to the end of this glorification that what was really his desire. He said, I want to be welcome in his temple where he performed his pastimes. I want to take his food dust, pay my respect, and especially worship at his place of samadhi, which was performed with my own hands. I have an open heart and open arms. My door is always open to anyone. My intention is to help everyone who comes to me, to establish a beautiful temple in their heart where Sri Srila and Krishna can be served. And Srila Gurudev has made this point. I haven't come to open any temple because Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has already done that. But I have come to establish temple in your heart. And the last passage of this glorification is so beautiful when Srila Gurudev said, I am praying at the lotus feet of my Diksha Gurudev and at the lotus feet of my Shiksha Guru and Priya Bandhu, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. May they bestow their mercy on all of you and also on me. If after first giving mercy to all of you, there is some left, then may they give it to me as well. From my heart, I care for all his followers who try to carry out his orders and spread Krishna consciousness. I am begging all of the Vaishnavas to be sympathetic to my attempt to serve the lotus feet and mission of our beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. He has kindly given me the opportunity to serve him, and I am offering my heartfelt Puspanjali at his lotus feet. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ki jai. I just wanted to share with you something that has touched my heart, and please excuse me if I have said anything inappropriate. Please bless me that I will always be able to continue to serve our Gurudev and all the Vaishnavas with love and affection, so that my heart can be purified and I can become humble. Vanshakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai, Haribol Didi. I know you can't, I don't think you can hear me, but your tattva was very, very beautiful, very much in keeping, who said about the mango leaves. It's just like everyone is adding their beautiful Pushpanjali, and it was so lovely to hear your sharing about all of these distinctions of Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much. With this, I think I've recovered, because the last two Didis were so kind as to shorten their speaking just a bit. Yashodananda, and I'm going to be turning the hosting over to you with to bring up the final speakers. But
yeah, everyone's got 5 minutes each now.
Yeah, yeah, it's been so lovely.
Sorry,
I know
Pankaj,
that
it's 5 minutes for you, buddy.
yeah. All of the devotees, myself included, Yashodananda, we're so grateful that this platform is back, and what a glorious opportunity to reinstate Bhakti Zoom for the appearance of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Thank you for letting me participate, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
The participation is beautiful, Manini Radha, as is everybody's. It's wonderful. All the MCs, the kirtaniers, the speakers have been amazing. So we're now in our final. This is the final furlong. The final sprint to the end. We've got just to get everyone present as to the lineup to come. We're about to go over to Pankaj Prabhu, and great talk, Pankaj, love it. And then we'll go to Gaurasundara in LA, and then we'll be going over to Ramananda, and then we'll be coming back to me, and I'll be closing. So I'd like to introduce Pankaj Prabhu, who Dandavats Prabhu, lovely to see you again. Pankaj, he was born in the devotee family and joined ISKCON in Delhi, helped build the temple there, has been involved in all sorts of media activities and documentaries produced for Bhakti Yoga, and met Srila Gurudev in 1999, and he's had the good fortune to be in the association of many in the line of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And he's a business person and a family man, and also a very enthusiastic, innovative preacher. So Prabhu, shall set the clock 25 minutes. We're very excited to hear your Pushpanjali. Hari Bol.
Thank you. Om Agyan Chamanandasya Gyananjan Chalakya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishwapadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutre Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Tinamine Shri Krishna Lila Katneshu Daksham Udarya Madhur Gunesha Yuktam Varnam Varinam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shri Shanamami Namo Mahabodhanaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurati Namahe Vancha Kalpatrubhasha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So first of all, I offer my unlimited Dandavat Pranam at the lotus feet of my Paramaradhitam Gurudev Nityalila Prishtam Vishwapashla Bhakti Nayan Goswami Maharaj. Also at the lotus feet of my Shiksha Gurudev Nityalila Prishtam Vishwapashla Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Also at the lotus feet of my Nityalila Prishtam Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj and His Divine Grace Nityalila Prishtam Vishwapashla Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And thank you everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It is always, Gurudev used to say that during this time of festivals, obviously we are not in India, we are not doing that much seva, we are not doing big festivals like how Gurudev used to do. We are at least crying and hoping, that we can do something like that and be useful. And speaking something, Harikatha, about Gurudev, an opportunity to speak, that is, for a disciple, that's the highest honor that you can get, to speak about your Guru. We can speak about so many things in material world, and that's what we do. We talk about ourselves, we talk about others, we talk about so many other things. But really what matters is to talk about your own Guru. If you talk about your Guru and you just establish what he has given and you try to realize what he has given, then automatically everything is achieved in this life. The greatest example is that when Ram, he met Love and Kush, and Lakshman went back. Lakshman asked, who is your Guru? And they said, no, we can't tell you who our Guru is. He said, who is your father? To Love and Kush. And Love and Kush said, don't you see that I'm a brahmachari and I'm Dikshit? Don't you see that I have a Brahman thread around me? And you are such an intelligent person. You are the brother of the king, Ram. So don't you know that you should be asking not who your father is, you should be asking who your Guru is. So really the glorification of Guru is everything. And I see like a lot of our disciples of Gurudev, they have ones who have been touched by Gurudev, really touched by Gurudev. I see that, they are silently, openly, in whatever condition they are, they're crying for that association. They're crying for Gurudev. They're just hoping that, they can get a platform to glorify our Gurudev. That's it, And so thank you for giving this opportunity. I was listening to one Gurudev's lecture today, and I came across a beautiful understanding of like what Gurudev is saying. So Gurudev was saying, who is really Guru? Guru is Shakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastre. Utse Tatha Bhava Eva Sadbhi Kintu Prabhurya Priyeva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Shakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastre. But really, when I was reading the translation, I said, okay, you know what? I might forget. So let me pull up the Gaudiya Giti Guch in English and read it. And I was reading to the translation. It says, scripture anonymously proclaims Shri Guru to be Shakshat Hari, directly Hari. But that's not what it is. Gurudev says in his class, and there's a Hindi class that I just heard today, it came out today in the group, saying Shakshat Harit Vena. When you put the in the end of the Sanskrit, it changes. He has the quality of the Hari. He has some quality of the Hari. Okay, he's not directly Hari. Gurudev is actually clearly giving that example in his class in Hindi, that Guru is not directly Hari. Do not misunderstand Guru to be Hari. Guru is actually a Prakash, or he has all the all the qualities are there in some format in Guru. So that is very important. So now let's go back to like in our own life, we see there's a lot of chatter between different groups. Oh, he said this, he said that, that happened, this happened, and everybody's like smart Brahmana, not smart Brahmana, smart Brahmana, because everybody is going toward this direction of smart Vaishnav. You know, smart Vaishnav means we want to take Shastra and we want to just argue. Because Kali Yuga, it's Kali Yuga, so we have to argue. There is no way that we can refrain from this unless and until we are touched and attain that highest perfection of understanding Gurudev's word and feeling it inside our heart, unless and until the Hari Naam has actually come into our heart and has given us, taken us through the process of Shiksha Ashtak, all the 8 process of Shiksha Ashtak. It's not possible that we can okay, yeah. So I was trying to like not see my face. So Gurudev is like really giving us, you know, that everything is there in the Shastra, but you have to really understand Shastra under the Anugatya of Guru. Now, the question comes, there are so many Gurus. There are so many Vaishnavas. There are so many different mouthpieces around the world in so many other places, right? When Gurudev was there were many, many great, like very famous television gurus in India, you know, and some of them are right now in jail because they have done all kind of activity because they couldn't handle the pratishtha. And I went to Gurudev one time. I said, Gurudev, you know, I'm making all these videos in ISKCON. I can do it for you here. And I worked with Doordarshan in Delhi. I'll record your videos. And I said, what will happen? I said, then everybody will come to you. I said, okay, then what will happen? Then everybody will listen to your Hari Katha and then you can preach your Guru Maharaj mission. So then what will happen? So then everybody will know you. And then what will happen? I said, then what will happen? Then everybody will become your disciple, Gurudev. You know, and Gurudev said, you are sitting in front of me and you're doing bak, you're talking and you're taking away my time from my bhajan. I really don't want all these pratishtha. Gurudev had no desire for pratishtha, no desire. And that comes down to the 26 quality. Actually, if you look at like Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Param Gurudev did talk about his Guru Maharaj, that he has all the 26 qualities of a Vaishnav or Guru, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam. But our Gurudev was completely, like even our Gurudev was saying in this class today, that there are 26 qualities of Mahajan, but our Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are looking for something even beyond that 26 qualities. There's a subtle, it's not beyond, but like a subtle like angle of this angle that we're looking at to attain the highest, which is Radha Dasyam. So that is what we're looking for. Who of our Mahajan, there are 12 Mahajans, who of our 12 Mahajan is really Radha Dasyam or talking about Radha Krishna? Then Gurudev start talking about Bhishma Dev, one of the Mahajan. Is he talking about Radha Krishna? No. Is he meditating on Radha Krishna? No. Is Narad Muni doing it? Although he is becoming Naradya Gopi, but his Isht is Krishna. So like this, Gurudev is giving us one after another. Like, okay, is this person or that person? So Dev Goswami, or is this? So like this, Gurudev is giving. So what we are trying to achieve is we are trying to achieve a line which is very thin and very specific beyond that initial line of bhakti or beyond the initial line of human Bhagavatam. That is the teachings of Rup Sanatan and Raghunath Das Goswami. So that is what Gurudev is trying to give. And I asked Gurudev, like, how are you trying to give? He said, through Vishwacharti Thakur. I remember like in 2000, I went for a morning walk with him. And he said, Vishwanath Thakur came 250 years back. And before that, for many years, almost 100, 200 years after Jiva Goswami left, all his teachings of our Goswamis were lost. Actually, there was so much confusion around the literature of Goswamis that they wanted to kill Vishwanath Thakur. The smart, so-called smart Brahmins, I also come from Brahmin family. So smart Brahmins, these Brahmins, they wanted to, these Jnani Brahmins, now everybody's smart, like everybody's drinking smart water, they're having smart watch, smart this, smart that. But really, everybody's going away from smartness. The real understanding, they're going at the head level, but really bhakti is at the heart level. It's not, bhakti doesn't reside here. It resides here. The smartness is only going to create ego, it's only going to create so many other things, which is going to take us away from Gurudev. But if you're smart, then you'll understand that you should follow your Guru. I mean, one thing Gurudev said, so I'll finish this particular thing. So Gurudev said that Vishwanath Thakur, he reconciled everything and he gave it to us. And I am coming in that same line and giving it to everybody. When Gurudev said that, I started thinking, everybody has some special angle. Like, I know, like Prabhupada, he has, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he has this angle, like a special angle with Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhu. There's something there. You can feel it. And Gurudev is clearly saying that my direct connection is with Vishwanath Thakur. I'm giving his teaching, which are lost, which are carried by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then later on, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave it to his son. He prayed for it in front of Jagannath temple to Bimla Devi, that please send me a son who can carry on my teachings. Otherwise, these teachings, this wealth that I've collected, is going to be lost. And then Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, in the end, if you look, I was recently looking at his like pastime. He was really disheartened by some of his disciples. Not everything is like, hunky-dory, right? He was disappointed. And at a very young age, he was not that old. He was only 60 something. He decided to leave this planet. And he did. And when he left, there were only few who continued his mission. Only few. I don't want to be like this Christian thing, like, oh, our Gurudev this, if not, then what? I don't want to be in that situation. But we have to understand a very important point. That Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he left, and then our Param Gurudev fought for his Samadhi to be where it is. He fought to get his mission created. In fact, our Param Gurudev almost gave his life when attack was going on with smart Brahmins again, okay? Jnani again, because they think that, oh, according to my Gyan, this is where Navdeep is, this is not where Navdeep is, right? So these smart Jnani, folks, whatever you want to call them, they attacked Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada and they wanted to kill him. Our Param Gurudev saved him. So later on, when Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada left, his library was with our Param Gurudev. And I was with Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj. He was giving us this story in India before he left, like how when Param Gurudev had the library, so Param Gurudev and Bhaktivedanta Madhav Maharaj, they both decided and they realized at the time of passing of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada that Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj is the Acharya. So they set him up in Navadip, they gave him a land, everything. And they said, we're going to serve you. They were not at that time sannyasis. They were still in their white or brahmachari vesh. So then at that time, Bhaktivedanta Madhav Maharaj had some differences. So he left and he said, you know what? He called both of them. He said, you guys are too powerful. You should become acharyas yourself.
Can I just get a coconut bun?
One coconut.
Yeah.
Is that here to go?
Who's having coconut water?
Sorry about that. Let's try and mute that.
All right. Somebody is at Whole Food store right now. So, all right. So what I'm trying to say is that Param Gurudev, he said, okay, you know what? And then he said to Param Gurudev, you give me the library of Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada. He said, you know what, I'll give you land. He gave almost 20 acres of land in Navdeep, but he did not give the library. Library was kept
Thank
with
you.
Gurudev, and he printed all the books and he reprinted them. He kept it in print. Our Gurudev took them, printed them in Hindi, made sure that everybody got